welcome everyone to the meeting. We have a number of people here to honor tonight. So we're going to do item 4, which is presentations. We have 2 proclamations recognizing 2 fantastic employees that have retired, neither of which are here, unfortunately, this evening, but we have some stand-in people to accept their award, or their proclamations. The first one, who I'm sure you all know, is Jeannie Bridges. I'm going to read the proclamation, and then who's going to accept on behalf of Jeannie? Roxy, okay. Commissioner Ross. All right. In honor and recognition of Jeannie Bridges for service to the Village of Biscayne Park. Whereas Jeannie Bridges began her career with the building division of the Village of Biscayne Park in 1996. Whereas Jeannie has, throughout her career, provided exceptional service to village residents in the processing of permit requests while diligently adhering to all regulations provided in the village code. Whereas Jeannie has worked tirelessly with the Planning and Zoning Board and the Code Compliance Board to assist with their goals and objectives. Whereas Jeannie is a warm and caring person who is usually at the forefront in celebrating important milestones in the lives of her coworkers. Whereas Jeannie's caring extends beyond the walls of the Village Hall and reaches out to the residents of Biscayne Park, as demonstrated by her willingness to provide assistance when needed, whether to an elderly neighbor or a family in need. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, do hereby honor and congratulate Jeannie Bridges for her outstanding service to the village. We further proclaim March 4, 2014, Jeannie Bridges Day, and we wish her well in her future endeavors. If any of the other commissioners have any comments?
Thank you. I spoke to Jeannie Bridges last night. No, I'm sorry, this afternoon. And we all know that she's not the red carpet type person, so she shied away from coming tonight. In fact, at other times we've tried to reward her and honor her for her good work, and she's very timid about these kinds of situations. But we certainly appreciate all of Jeannie's 17 years with us. She treated everyone like a family member and walked them through the process, including her board members, who she spent 2 evenings a week with. And I just want to make sure that we will get this proclamation to her. She appreciates it. She was very flattered that the village thought to do this for her, and remembers us as fondly as her relatives. And we'll all miss her. We'll all miss her. It's going to take quite an adjustment and a bit of a learning curve to get beyond that. And, you know, if we're ever in a pinch, I hope we can call her back and she would come in and lend a hand. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ross. Commissioner Anderson?
Yeah, I've known Jeannie all the time she was been working here. And she's a lady that has never had a bad day. She's always come in smiling and extremely pleasant, no matter who was standing in front of her. She was always pleasant, very thorough. She really, really knew her job. And at the end of the day, people would walk away saying, thank you, thank you. And she always used to go way above the call of duty. And this goes back before we had the manager form of government, where we had commissioners running different departments. She used to help me out so much at that time. And I really, really appreciate her. And I'm going to miss her. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I first became acquainted with Jeannie when I was served for a brief time on the Planning and Zoning Board. And she was a breath of fresh air and efficient, kind to everyone, and just a wonderful person. I think that, you know, in Biscayne Park, we like to think of ourselves as a small community, a neighborhood where people are neighborly and friendly when we're not being contentious. We are friendly to one another and we care for one another. I think that Jeannie embodies everything that we as a village aspire to be. She is warmth personified. And Although everyone is replaceable in this instance, I don't think Jeannie could ever be replaced. She's just so special, and I'm going to miss her.
Thank you. All right, our second proclamation I'm going to read is recognizing Jesse Anderson. In honor and recognition of Jesse Anderson for service to the Village of Biscayne Park. Whereas Jesse Anderson has served the Village of Biscayne Park with pride and upon the occasion of his retirement is deserving of recognition. Jesse served his country as a Lance Corporal in Infantry of the United States Marine Corps from 1974 to 1978. Jesse was a Metro-Dade transit bus operator for 22 years. In 2006, Jesse began his career with the Village of Biscayne Park. Jesse has provided dedicated public service to the residents of the village as part of the Public Works Division. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, do hereby honor and congratulate Jesse Anderson for outstanding service to the village. We further proclaim March 4th, 2014, Jesse Anderson Day, and we wish him well in his future endeavors. Dated this 4th day of March, 2014, Village of Biscayne Park, Florida. And here to accept the honor for Jesse is Caesar. Caesar, if you want to say a few words about Jesse.
Unfortunately, Jesse couldn't have been here. He had to go to Georgia on a family emergency, but he is here in spirit with the rest of us. I've known Jesse since '06, and it's been a interesting time. He's kept us on our toes for a good portion of the durations that he was here, always making us laugh, always showing us things, always willing to help out a hand, do whatever it took to get the job done, and he will be truly missed. And I'm grateful that he's venturing into his next endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, Caesar. All right, well, let's move on to item 4B. We have a presentation. We're honored to have two chiefs from the Miami-Dade Fire Rescue Department here this evening. We have Chief Downey and Chief Holmes. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Cavello, Vice Mayor Watts, Commissioners, Manager, Clerk. My name is Dave Downey. I'm your fire chief. I appreciate the opportunity to come here tonight and just kind of give you a report of Miami-Dade Fire Rescue and our services to your village. With me tonight is Chief Holmes. He's our Chief of Operations, oversees all the units that actually deliver the direct service throughout the county. And Ms. Maria Reyes, who oversees our financial and strategic sections of the fire department. And she's my numbers person, gives us all the data that we need as we go along. I was appointed fire chief a little over a year ago now. A little bit about myself. I'm a 32-year veteran of the fire service. I've been with Miami-Dade for 26 of those years. I worked my way through all the ranks. In fact, I was a new lieutenant right over here in Miami Shores for a number of years. I have a master's in public administration and some undergraduate degrees. I'm also a paramedic. So this has been my department. This is where I've grown up. A little bit about Miami-Dade Fire Rescue. Not only do we serve your village, but 28 other cities and unincorporated areas of Miami-Dade County. We're a full-service fire rescue department. So not only do we have fire suppression, EMS, fire prevention, but technical rescue, air rescue, hazmat, we kind of cover it all. We do it with almost 139 frontline units, and we're one of the top 10 as far as largest fire departments in this country. We've got just about 2,400 employees. Of that, 2,000 are firefighters, paramedics, uniformed personnel. I'm proud to say we're an accredited fire agency, the second largest in the United States, accredited by the Commission on Fire Accreditation International. And this is a distinguished honor. We also boast through our ST Elevation MI, in other words, a heart attack program, that we boast one of the highest survival rates in the United States for persons that suffer heart attacks. And we're preparing now to publish the data of our success rates. We're also part of the Stroke Coalition. So likewise, what we've done with heart attacks, we've transferred that into managing strokes. And You know, when I became a paramedic in the early 80s, I'll be honest with you, somebody has a heart attack, there wasn't much we could do. You know, we could give them some pain medications, try to reduce the stress, but the damage has already been done. And now we've seen dramatic changes where the heart actually repairs itself. We're seeing the same thing with brain injuries. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue responded to almost 240,000 calls last year, and so we're a very busy system. And in spite of the budget challenges that we've had, we continue to grow. Last year we opened up our new regional communications center. First time we've opened it up, a new center. The older center was 30 years old. We rebuilt a couple stations and opened up our lifeguard station at Haulover as well. We're the recipient of the Excellence in Fire Service Based EMS Award from the International Fire Congressional Institute. So all in all, Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, I'm proud to say we're a class operation. Despite the budget challenges that we've had, and we've all watched them, and over the years we've had a shrinking budget. I've had 5 years of a declining budget here in the fire department. We continue to provide service. In spite of the possibilities of laying off firefighters, we didn't lay off a single firefighter, we didn't close a single unit, and we continue to try to plan for the future. With respect to your village, I'm proud to say that we've been your fire department since you incorporated. In 2013, we responded to about 330 alarms here in the village. The majority of our service, the service to your community comes from our Station 20 in North Miami and our Station 30 in Miami Shores. But we have within 4.5 miles of your village, we have 8 additional fire rescue stations that are staffed by 55 firefighters, and of those 29 are paramedics. Most of our fire engines, even though you call for an ambulance, our fire engines come, they're staffed with paramedics as well. So 80% of our engine fleet across the county is staffed as what we call advanced life support. Paramedics on it, equipped to deliver paramedic care. We do a customer service feedback. We send out random samplings. The highest score you can get is a 5. Our average county-wide is 4.85. I'm proud to say the customer feedback from your village has been a 5. So we've hit the mark. And again, I'm happy to be your fire chief. I'm here to answer any questions or anytime you need me. I hope to make this kind of an annual event, but anytime you need us, let us know. If you have any events going on and you want the fire department to be a part of it, let us know. That's all I have. Any questions? Or?
Chief, thank you very much for coming out. Any questions from the commission?
I'd just like to say something.
Sure.
Okay. I'd just like, I would ask you to convey to your troops or your officers our gratitude for their jobs that they've been doing, that you've helped me a couple of times when I was really in distress. And,
well, thank you. It's nice to hear.
yeah.
I will definitely pass it on.
Even at the ninth inning of the World Series when the Marlins won, they weren't very happy, but
Yeah, and unfortunately, we're 24/7, so yeah, they're
yeah.
always there.
And 3 years later, they remembered me.
Well, that's good. That's good. Appreciate it. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, one last thing. I did give to the clerk. Part of the fire department now is the Office of Emergency Management, so we manage all the hurricane preparedness, and knock on wood, if we had to do any response, we manage it out of the fire department. We'll have cards for anybody, any of the residents. We're trying to conduct a survey, just looking at personal preparedness, and it's just a quick survey you can do online, but I appreciate it. The clerk has the cards. If you could do those, we'd like to get the feedback. Thanks a lot.
We
Thank you.
have had, just
Sure.
real briefly, we have had a couple of community events here at the rec center, and your firemen and women have come out to these events, so we really do appreciate that on their
Excellent.
downtime they come out and do that community service.
I'm big fan of getting back to the community. So anything that you have, anything that you would like us to participate in, let us know. You know, we have to stay in service, we have to be able to run the calls, but we'd like to be a part of it.
Great,
Very
thank
much.
you. Okay, staff, is there any additions, deletions, or withdrawals?
No, not from staff.
Okay, anything from the commission?
I have just 2 items that I would ask that we include in the managers, maybe in the managers report section, which would be just a status update on annexation, on our annexation application.
Okay.
And the meeting last week at the county. And also, I think today or in the next couple of days, it marks 60 days of service with our new manager. So I think maybe we should say a few words about that when you do your report.
90 days.
And I'd like to just add, perhaps also under the village manager, our trip to Tallahassee, just to give everyone an update on what we did and the progress that we made.
Okay, and I'd like to postpone 12C, the new business discussion and photo contest till next month. And then I'd request that at some point before many people in the audience may leave after certain things are done, that mention be made of the Food and Tunes with the Irish Band so that people know there's a special band coming this Saturday.
Mayor, if you'll allow me, in reference to Commissioner Watts.
Yeah, why don't we announce that now?
Okay,
Is
I
that
was going to do it at the end of public comments. I actually have 2 similar announcements.
Okay, why don't you go ahead now?
Since we have so many of our residents here, as Commissioner Watts mentioned, on Friday, March 14th, we will be hosting Food and Tunes in conjunction with the foundation. It is a St. Patrick's Day Irish-themed event where there will be an Irish band. We will have food trucks in attendance, and we will have a speech by resident Marie Smith regarding some Irish history. So we hope you all come out. I believe it starts at 6:30. Is that right, Marie? Yes. 6:30, and we hope that you'll come out and join us. Also, on a kind of a different note, while we have so many people here, as some of you may be aware, we are going through a process right now to consider the outsourcing of sanitation, and we have 2 public workshops coming up that I would like to encourage you to attend. On Saturday, March 22nd, thank you,
Yep.
Saturday, March 22nd at 10 a.m., we will be having an opportunity for the public to provide feedback, both on the bidder and in sanitation in general. And we will repeat the workshop for those who cannot come on a weekend on Monday, March 24th at 6:30 p.m. I'd also like to encourage you to come to the Saturday event because at 9 a.m. that morning is also Coffee with a Cop. So we will have coffee, donuts, snacks, and Chief Ray will be here to answer all your questions with his troops. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay, any other changes to the agenda? All right. So let's go to public comments, good and welfare.
Barbara Kuehl, 111th Street. There was a new item added under the consent agenda it was a resolution voicing support for the Venezuelan demonstrators. And honestly, I just don't think it's appropriate for the commission to be doing resolutions that are political or religious, for that matter. And I think the last commission had a lot of backlash because of items that they were supporting in other communities that really had nothing to do with Biscayne Park. So I was hoping that we could start this new commission with just staying more on topic and maybe staying away from any very political issues. On the manager just brought up the evaluation meetings for solid waste and the workshop that's going to be, or the public input on Saturday. And when I read it, my one comment is, I think there could be a little more information. I come to the meetings and I consider myself pretty tuned in. And just looking at the agenda for the evaluation meetings for solid waste, looking at that, if you were just somebody glancing at the agenda of those topics and the workshop, it looks like outsourcing is a done deal. And it looks like you're really you're picking the best one, and you're going to tell the people what they can expect, and maybe they have questions. And there was nothing, because I was going to bring up the point that there was no counter meeting about keeping Public Works. And you just mentioned that, and honestly, well, I'm happy that there are people here supporting this. Commissioner Jonas had this little informal thing on his blog. What did people think about outsourcing? And every single person said, keep Public Works. Is it going to cost more? So what? It'll cost more. Just, the one thing, two things we have going for us. We have an excellent police force, and we have an excellent Public Works department. When I moved to this village 30 years ago, I paid twice the taxes that I would be paying if I were living in North Miami or North Miami Beach, and I still moved here. And I went to that great site Zillow just this afternoon. And the thing that is that you should keep in mind is, according to Zillow, Biscayne Park's property rates are going up 10.4% a year. The average for Miami-Dade is 7.3. North Miami Beach is 6.5. And I bring up North Miami Beach because North Miami Beach has very few codes that keep the neighborhood looking good. They have garbage pickup once a month for yard trash. This is what happens when we let the services go down. If our prices are going up, that means people know that we have the highest taxes in all of Florida, I think, and yet people are still buying and fixing up houses, and they want to live here. And people are telling you, we want to pay for their services. And I don't want to hear the commissioners say or represent this community as everybody's on their last nickel, because I don't think that's the case. And I think people are willing to pay whatever, we're not talking $5,000 a year, a couple of $100 more. All of the meetings I ever went to about the budget, when you're doing your final budget, the budget workshops, I never heard one person come up here and say, I don't want to pay this for garbage, it's too much.
Hey, Barbara,
Miami Shores.
just if you could just wrap it up so we have
Okay.
enough time for everyone to speak.
So I just hope that you'd put more information on the website that would reflect that this isn't a done deal, and that maybe people would come out and say, I'm happy with the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Any other public comments? Going once?
I agree with what she said.
Okay. Anyone else? Going once? Chuck? Yeah. Okay.
Chuck Ross, Griffin Boulevard. I just I wanted to tack on to what the manager said earlier about Coffee with a Cop. We had a very successful Coffee with a Cop on February 15th. We had about 30 residents show up, and I hope that everybody will attend the next one, which is March 22nd, I believe. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, at 9 o'clock here at the rec center. So it's an opportunity for the residents and the police to meet one-on-one and, just kind of talk about whatever they like. So, anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Anyone else? All right. Let's move on to the consent agenda. Would any of the commissioners like to pull any of those items?
I'd like to pull 7F.
7F is pulled. We're going to pull 7E, just for a brief comment.
I'd like to pull 7D.
7D is in David?
D is in David.
Okay,
We have a revision to the contract.
okay. Can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right, let's pull 7G as well. Okay, so is there a motion to approve the remaining items, 7A, 7B, 7C?
I
make
make
a-
a motion to approve the balance of the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll take 7D then. Staff, would you like to do an introduction?
Good evening. Do you need to read the resolution title? I'm going to have the attorney read the resolution title.
This is Resolution 2014-16, a resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement between Joe A. DiMedette and the Village of Biscayne Park to provide youth baseball and soccer programs at the Ed Burke Recreation Center, providing for an effective date.
I believe in front of the commission you have a revised agenda. We had an opportunity to meet with Coach Joe this afternoon, and we made some revisions to how fees would be collected and the compensation. So I will point out the 3 changes that are in the contract that's in front of you. On page 2, 1.18, we're going to say the village agrees to process village activity fee in accordance with village revenue processing procedures. At the bottom of page 2, beginning at 2.1, we are going to strike that language and insert language that says all participants shall pay a village activity fee payable directly to the village. And in 2.2, we say the instructor shall ensure that all participants are registered in accordance with village procedures. And the way this is structured is the village will collect essentially an approximate 20% of the program fee that Coach Joe will be collecting. That is usual split between us all these years, an 80-20 split, and Coach Joe will collect his side of his fee. So everyone will tend to their own money collection and their own business, and the programs will be in great shape. And I want to thank Coach Joe for his time this afternoon. I want to thank Commissioner Jonas as well as Clerk Camara for their time this afternoon so we could get to the bottom of some of these details.
Okay, thank you. Coach, would you like to address the commission?
Okay, well, I thank the commission and Manager Heidi. And by the way, I certainly appreciate how you went out of your way to make sure we get an agreement where everybody is satisfied. I'm extremely happy with the way you conducted the meeting. And other than that, if anything I have said or done may have negatively reflected on you, I apologize.
It's okay, thank
And
you.
I really, I certainly appreciate you have done a fantastic job, and I'm extremely happy with the way you handled things. And I want to make it a public statement about that. I'm extremely happy the way it went. Okay, and I thank you all, including Isa, the work department, who have always been very supportive, and looking forward to doing a lot of good things in Biscayne Park.
Great, thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Can make a motion?
Motion by Commissioner Anderson?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2014-16.
I would second that.
Second by Commissioner Ross, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right, let's move on to 7E.
Mayor, this is Resolution 2014-17, a resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement between Leslie Riley and the Village of Biscayne Park for the provision of exercise classes at the Ed Burke Recreation Center, providing for an effective date.
Stop.
We just wanted to give Ms. Riley, who's a resident of the park, an opportunity to stand up and introduce herself. This is an exciting new program. At the end of the meeting, Issa and I will be talking about the programs in our rec department, and Ms. Riley is part of this, and I just want to give her an opportunity, since she has a captive audience tonight, to promote her program. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Leslie Riley, and I have been a personal trainer and group fitness instructor for over 10 years. I've trained at LA Fitness, Gold's Gym, World Fitness Association. I currently have my own business. I've trained probably in the past 6 years 250, 300 people in the Miami Shores, Biscayne Park area. I'm happy to say that, and fortunate to say that I've brought a lot of people together, had great success with my business, and I was very excited when I got the call from ISA to start the program for the seniors on Wednesday mornings and for women Thursday evenings at 6:30. So I encourage everyone to start. I promise I won't torture you too much in the beginning, but I can't promise a few weeks into it. But I am a safety comes first trainer, so I do start with the foundation of fitness and really teach you the proper form and function of fitness so that the longevity of your success will continue. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2014-17.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Anderson,
Oh, second?
second by Commissioner Ross. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. All right, let's move on to 2014-18.
This is a resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, authorizing the mayor to execute the professional consultant services agreement between RP Utility and Excavation Corporation and the Village of Biscayne Park to provide drainage and roadway repair on Northwest 111th Street and Northeast 9th Court, providing for an effective date.
Staff?
I'm going to allow Assistant to the City Manager, Sosa Cruz.
Good evening, residents, Mayor, Commissioner. Gene Schreiner from Craig Smith and Associates is here to discuss the project and also the bids that were submitted for this project. The bid winner is RP Utility and Excavation Corporation, and I'm going to hand it over to Gene Schreiner.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Gene Schreiner, Craig Smith, President, Craig Smith and Associates. We are the consulting engineer regarding this project for Northeast 111th Street and Northeast 9th Court. It's a roadway and drainage improvement project. Basically, they are a repair of the street and a repair of the 2 drainage pipes that exist on those streets. We put the project out to bid and we received 6 bids. We provided you the bid tab and the ranking. The low bidder was RP Utility and Excavation. Part of our process for recommending an award, we do basically a review of all the bids and all the contractors. RP Utility and Excavation did have some informalities in their bid, and we looked at their bid very closely. One of the things, they did not sign the bid bond, however, they did provide a bid bond. One thing, they only have 3 years of experience and not 5 years of experience. We looked at them very closely. The reason why we are recommending them is because in the reference checks, one of the references was Metro Equipment, which we do a lot of work with. They are a very good contractor, and they use them exclusively as a subcontractor for pipeline type work and paving repair work. Carbide Utility of Florida was another reference we checked, and the reference was a very good reference, and the city of South Miami also gave them a good reference. We have never done work with RP Utility. However, the fact that Metro and Xavier Garzon gave us that glowing reference, I would have no problems using them. The other issues, why we recommend them, the complexity of the project is, it's basically, I would consider almost a maintenance activity. It's not really a capital improvement project. So you're only looking at like 20 feet of pipe repair and a 6 square foot repair of a road. The repair is minimal as far as pipe work. It's a 24-inch pipe. The cost of the project is minimal. RP Utility has done greater projects for greater amounts of money. And the other thing that I took into account was we will be inspecting the job throughout, and knowing that, I think it's in the best interest of the village and fiscally responsible for you to waive those informalities and award the contract to RP Utility and Excavation. And
Good.
that's my recommendation.
Can you just, I think you mentioned there was discrepancies in their
Yes, there-
submittal. What were they again?
First of all, they did not sign in. We have a mandatory pre-bid meeting. They did not sign in. However, one of my employees was there and witnessed them being there. So that was one discrepancy. Another discrepancy was they did not fill out our bid bond form, but they provided the bid bond.
Okay.
So we have the bid bond. The other discrepancy that we found was they showed 3 years of experience and not 5. And we asked for 5 years. Frankly, on this job, that's probably a little more than I need. It's, like I said, it's a repair. If this was a capital improvement project, I would stay on the 5 years. But due to the magnitude of the project, I don't have a problem recommending them to do the job. They put up the bid bond. They will put up the bond for the project. There is a hefty liquidated damages in the specs. You got $2,500 per day liquidated damages. And the fact that Metro Equipment, Xavier Garzon, we work with him a lot. We just did a major $2 million project with them. They are a very good contractor, and he uses them almost exclusively as a subcontractor. So,
Okay.
with that, I have no problems recommending award. And I think fiscally, knowing the village's financials, I think you're better off going with the low bid in this case. Another point I need to make, the second bidder, who came in roughly $2,000 higher, I would not recommend. They only had 2 years of experience, and I did not get the glowing references that I got from RP. So that means your third bidder would be the default bid, and that was $28,000 versus $17,500. So that is why I'm making that recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Any comments for the commission? Commissioner
Yeah.
Watts?
You've explained some of the reasons I pulled this item. I was distressed when I read that the company has been in existence only 3 years, and it's part of our qualifications. The pre-qualification form stipulates 5 years, so I wondered why you even considered them at all in the first place.
Right. Well, we highlighted it when we got it, and we looked at the bids, and like I said, based on the amounts that we received and the other bidders, and once I got the reference from Xavier Garzon from Metro, I was pretty pleased with what I heard. So,
Yeah.
like I said, I haven't done any work with them, but yet I'm here telling you I recommend them.
I'm also a little concerned, there's such a discrepancy between the bids, from 17,000 to 29 and 38.
Right.
I'm just worried sometimes we tend to, or I think in my experience in other places, we tend to be penny wise and pound foolish, and that you think that the recommendations were so glowing that this will, and your
Yeah.
oversight will.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I will be inspecting this job, so the fact that we will be out there watching them do the work, I have no problem with. And for this small job, that discrepancy can occur because it's such a small job, depending on how busy every contractor is. Some are hungrier than others, and this is a very good price.
Is there any, I didn't see it, but it could have been because I was skimming, but is there any guarantee of how long that the work
Yes.
will remain?
Yes, there is a,
I didn't see that.
hold on.
I'm sorry.
And I think it's a 30-day, the bidder agrees the work will be complete within 45 calendar days. 10 calendar days for materials acquisition and 35 for actual construction.
Yeah, I saw that.
And there's a liquidated damages of $2,500 per day. if
Yeah,
they don't complete within that time.
Yeah, I saw that, but is there any teeth in the contract where, in that we could, if the work weren't up to snuff, that we could come back if it turns out in 6 months that things aren't working right?
Yeah, obviously you have a year's warranty and, you know, the normal warranties on any job, yes. It's a year of workmanship warranty, and then the pipe itself has its own warranty, so. But like I said, you're only talking 20 feet of pipe, so it's not a big
And you're going
project.
to determine the materials, what kind of pipe?
Yes, we already expect it, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Mr. Village Attorney, is there any exposure for us in that they didn't meet the bid requirement in terms of
Right.
experience?
The rule is you go with the lowest responsible bidder. And what Mr. Schreiner's saying is he reviewed that and that these, why there was discrepancies, as he calls them, they were not material in nature and therefore can be waived.
Correct.
And
I could add to that. Section 208, basis of award, basically says in here, responsible bidder shall be defined as a person, firm, or corporation submitting a bid for the work contemplated, who maintains a permanent place of business, has adequate plant, equipment to do the work properly within the time limit that is established, and has adequate status to meet this obligation. The owner reserves the right to award the contract as best serves the interest of the owner. And we also have in here, the owner reserves the right to waive any informalities and irregularities in the proposal.
Okay.
So it's in the basis for award.
Yeah, and that's standard language too, but if there was a very material issue, even with that language, but when you look at what Mr. Schreiner's done here too is, I agree that they're not material in nature, and then the second bidder, of course, didn't meet the 5 years, and then you look at the third bidder, you're looking at $11,000 more. So from a practical point of view, I think with the numbers, with the recommendations that he has, it is a small contract. I think that's a responsible bidder. So the one thing I'd just like to add as we move forward, I had a conversation and an email with Commissioner Ross, and there's a technical issue with the venue that we fixed up, being Miami-Dade County, and then Commissioner Ross had asked that there be some, and I just want to, Mr. Schreiner, for you too, I don't think it's going to be material, but non-conflict and non-discriminatory sections that are often in the bigger contracts we don't have here, but since we're moving to a form, we could put that in. I don't think this it's standard.
Yeah.
You can't be discriminatory either way. And so I spoke to Commissioner Ross and said, I'd be more than happy to put it in. It doesn't have a negative effect. If this commission's fine with it, we'll just go back to them and ask them to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's no problem.
All right, so is there, Commissioner Ross?
Yeah. Clarification on, thank you for that clarification, Mr. Attorney. The contract, I had no issue with the bidder. Thank you for weeding through that process and for selecting the lowest price bidder with very good references as you have vetted. I appreciate your oversight on the job. My issue was more with the form of the contract. We're moving into a new form of a service agreement, which will serve as a template going forward, but I wanted to see in that service agreement template certain elements that are in the Miami-Dade County code for contracts, and as the attorney explained. My last question is funding for the project. At one time we talked about CITT funds as opposed to general funds being used, and just want to make sure that that's still going to be the funding.
Yes, ma'am. It's coming out of CITT, which is the village's share of the county's penny tax, transportation tax.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion?
Penny tax.
Yes. Motion,
I'll second it.
Commissioner Jonas, second by Commissioner Anderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to 7G, which was pulled. This was put on, I put this on the agenda. I received a letter from Mayor Boria, the mayor of the city of Doral, asking local cities to pass a similar resolution as did the city of Doral. But I certainly understand, I can appreciate Barbara's comments in light of some of the past resolutions that this commission has tried to pass. But I'd like to hear some comments by the other commissioners.
Yeah, I think we all can feel sympathetic. We can feel sympathetic toward the Crimeans too, and the Ukrainians, and the North Koreans, and many other people who are somewhat embattled, but I don't know that we should really think of it as our mission to address each of these with a resolution. Not that it's not a worthy sentiment, just that, you know, it's not really our job, at least in my opinion.
Okay. Any other comments? So the general consensus, go ahead, Barbara.
No, I think that even though it's not our job, that some things making a statement can have some significance. I'm sorry, my agenda packet doesn't have that resolution in it, so I don't feel comfortable saying more, but I like to be open. I'm sorry. I didn't see it. Okay.
Commissioner Ross?
I think that there are times when the commission is within its authority to speak on things that may not directly involve the village or village government, but do involve our residents and our residents' families. So I understand the issue of not spending village funds and time on complex situations that don't impact on us, but sometimes it is okay. It is the right thing to have a voice for those without a voice.
So is the consensus, Commissioner Watts, I'm sorry?
No consensus.
You know, I think, I agree with Commissioner Ross that, you know, under certain circumstances, I think that this, you know, sending a message, especially a unified message, if a number of municipalities in South Florida pass a similar resolution, I think that it's doing a small part to voice our support for the people in Venezuela. So I'm inclined to support passing the resolution. It's already been drafted, and I think it sends a positive message.
I look at it, we had a mayor from one of our municipalities reach out and ask us to give them support, and I think we should. It's part of, the League of Cities does this all the time, and to ask cities to support each other. So I think we ought to support Doral that's requesting this. And I do agree with Commissioner Jonas, though. It's like there's conflicts all over the world, but I'm sure if another city, or we could even have our own resolution sometime in support of one of these conflict areas. But in Doral, they have a large population from Venezuela, and you know, it's supporting that city.
Should we amend by adding language about Syria and Crimea, the Ukraine, North Korea?
Okay, is there a motion on the floor? Commissioner Anderson, would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve resolution 2014-26.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Commissioner Ross, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. All right, let's move on to ordinances. We have second reading, item 9A.
Ordinance number 2014-01, an ordinance of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, amending Chapter 2 Administration, Article 3, entitled Commissions, Boards, and Committees, amending existing Section 2-30 of the Code of Ordinances of the Village of Biscayne Park entitled General Rules and Policies, creating new Section 2-36 of the Code of Ordinances of the Village of Biscayne Park entitled Public Art Advisory Board, providing for conflicts, providing for codification, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. It's second reading, public hearing.
Okay, so we'll, staff, do you want to give a presentation and then we'll open it up to the public?
Sure. I just wanted to highlight that this is second reading, and after the commission held its first reading and gave us some direction, we've made 3 changes to the ordinance that's in front of you. Section 230E3 was changed to clarify that a board quorum is considered a majority of board members. Section 2-36C was written to be less redundant. And Section 236D was amended to add the following language. Number 4, to enlist and encourage public support. And number 5, to seek and improve the visual quality of public spaces. We are available for questions after public comment.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to open up to the public. Does anyone have any comments on this particular ordinance?
Dan Keys. I missed it last month when I was reading through the changes, but I really have an issue with the changes being made with regard to how board members are appointed. Currently, each commissioner has an opportunity to appoint one member to each board, and I think that's the appropriate way that it should be done. Each commissioner up there on the dais is elected by a group of individuals, and that individual commissioner should have a unique opportunity to appoint their representative to the boards that lend possibly a different point of view than other members on each board, which may be of interest to the other members of the board to consider in making recommendations to the commission. I don't believe that there's a huge problem that cannot be solved in many other ways with there being commissioners not desiring to appoint, not being proactive in appointing members to the board and therefore having fewer members than necessary and problems with quorums. We even have the expanded opportunity here in this city of having alternates to all of our boards. And Parks and Parkways, for instance, has never missed a board, even though we've been down at times 2 members officially appointed by each commissioner. So I don't think it's going to be less political the way that you're proposing it. I don't think it's particularly political, but I do believe that you're gaining, currently you're gaining input from a more diverse population of residents in the village, and it's great when you're 4-to-1 or 5-to-1, however you see yourself up there today, in terms of all kind of thinking in the same way. But when you have divergent opinions, those opinions should be heard throughout the process of coming up with recommendations to the commission. And I don't particularly, secondarily, I don't particularly agree with the Public Art Advisory Board, primarily because I just think it's growing the village operations. Each one of these boards takes time out of village staff to manage in various ways, and I don't think we're gaining that much out of the Public Art Advisory Board. But thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Gary Kuehl, 111th Street. Right now, we have a commission that, you know, at least I'm very pleased. I think the community is. You seem to work together well, and hopefully that'll continue in the future. But consider the converse, where we have a majority of commissioners who maybe we disagree with. We're going in a different direction than maybe the community wants to go. And the authority then they have to appoint people to do their control, essentially, all the boards and committees. The other thing is, too, in making individual appointments as a commissioner, it creates a pipeline from those various boards back to the commissioner. It gives the commissioners and the appointee the ability to discuss things with the commissioner who appointed them. And I think it creates a better opportunity than conversation than just appointing people at large. You don't have that dialogue going on. One other little footnote, as far as exclusions of husbands and wives, there should be an exclusion for domestic partners as well, serving on the same board. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Anyone else? All right, we'll close the public hearing. Open it up to comments by the commission. Who wants to go first?
I'll go. I think having the commission appoint the members on the boards You know, there is, like it's been pointed out, there could be a situation of a particular commission would be controlling all the boards. But you also have to look at the flip side. Those commissioners won their election by the people of the city. The other side, we have proof that we were having problems filling some of the boards because one or two commissioners would wait to the end of the time frame and just appoint somebody that probably, and a lot of times, never even showed up, but then you have to wait for the time frame again, and it was like 90 days. So what it was doing is you had one or two commissioners was actually holding the boards hostage. So that, you know, that doesn't work out either. So I'm all for, let's try something different. It may not be perfect, but I know positively the other way wasn't working very well when you have a non-functioning commission.
Commissioner Jonas?
Yeah. Is this a time that we would also talk about the structure of our board system, or would we wait until we talk about each board in the next section to do that?
But what do you mean the board system?
Well, we have a number of boards, and in 9A, we're talking about how to staff all of them in general. I don't know if it will make any difference if I have comments about individual boards and what their value is, maybe rather than I wait until that section and then I'll talk about this.
Okay, I mean, this ordinance, right, I don't think it's appropriate under this ordinance. But
Okay.
but I don't know that it's really appropriate under the, what resolution do you
Well,
want to?
for example, if I thought a given board was superfluous, would I talk about that here under 9A, or would I talk about it when we discuss
I
that
think
individual board?
Under neither. I mean, I think you would have to put something on the agenda that you wanted
Yeah.
to consolidate boards or remove.
Okay.
I think.
Okay, then to come back to this, I think that Dan and Gary make a very good point. My only concern is that unless they've seen something happen in the past here or elsewhere, although I understand the theory of the problem of a majority of the commission approving board members, I haven't seen a complication of it, although I do understand what the complication is. I have seen a complication of individual commissioners appointing or not appointing individual board members, and because I've seen that, I'm a little bit more reluctant to have that continue and that problem continue than, as Bob says, to maybe try a different approach.
Okay, any comments? Commissioner Ross, Commissioner Watts?
Yes. Why don't you talk so I can get a glass of water? Okay?
I'll go slow. Mr. Kuehl brings up a very good point. When we first passed this ordinance, sort of formalizing our volunteer boards, we had not yet passed the domestic partnership regulations that we've since. And so I think it is appropriate, if the intent is to have, not to have two members of the same household participate on the same board, then I think the code section, the section is 2-30B2, that excludes relatives from serving on the same board, and I guess maybe we can drop in there the phrase domestic partners.
And Mayor, if I may?
Sure.
What we could do, Commissioner Ross, is under the definition of relative, we could either put it there, or just because it refers to it, and then if we're going to, since this is second reading, I would then say that sentence ends, or daughter-in-law, take out the or, daughter-in-law, or domestic partners. So if you do pass it, that would be the language, because in second reading, I have to give you that language in case it is passed.
Okay. Commissioner Ross, is that
And
work for
then
you?
just to comment on the fashion of appointments, we did experience some difficulties in getting boards fully appointed, and in part it was the fault of the commission for not bringing in their appointees in a timely manner. Eventually, an appointee would come in, but the commitment wasn't there. What I see this commission and future commissions doing is appointing everyone who applies for a board to fit capacity. And I really don't contemplate rejecting an application of someone in the community that wants to serve and help the village. So I know when we formed the foundation and started really making the foundation an active part of the village, we chose this way of appointing so that there would not be that direct sort of appointee belonging to a particular commissioner. It became difficult when a commissioner was left office and a new commissioner came in, and then the question was who inherits those committee members, and there was some confusion in that transition. So I think that this might be the better way to approach it. We could give it a shot. If it doesn't work, after a year or two, if there's a way of making it better, then we can approach it again and make it better.
Okay, Commissioner Watts?
I voted against this ordinance last month precisely for the reasons that were presented by Mr. Keyes and Mr. Kuehl. I worry about introducing more politics to the nomination of people to the advisory boards, but I can see that either way it can become a political issue. And I think in the past when we had trouble finding people who were willing to serve, I think we've all shared anyone we knew when there was a vacancy that, you know, we send the name of that person to the person who's got a vacancy. But nonetheless, if this is the majority of the commission wants to try this, I agree that we should, but think of it as a temporary and see how it works out. And in another couple of years, if it doesn't work out, I disagree with it, but I'll go along with the majority.
Okay. And we're also, just to be clear, this ordinance is also creating the Public Art Advisory Board, correct? So if anyone has any comments on that as well, now's the time.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rox.
Oh, my comment is, you know, I don't feel married to having an art advisory board in the structure of this ordinance. I think that it could very appropriately be part of the foundation, and that would be a little bit removed from staff. We wouldn't be drawing on staff support for it because it's under a different structure. But either way, I still think it's a value to have a committed group of committee members or board members who are going to take this as their project to improve the village.
Okay, any other comments on the Public Art Advisory Board?
In the last commission meeting, we discussed that, and it was brought out to be, you know, under the foundation, and it was decided that the foundation really didn't want to have it under them, so that's why we're creating the board. And you know, it's the same thing. We'll see how it works.
Yeah, my concern about this at this point is that, in theory, this is a time of maximum enthusiasm because it would be a new board. There are arts projects that could be taken under consideration fairly soon, and at that we only have 3 people who have shown it or expressed any interest. So I'm not sure that this is really looking like the kind of thing that gets off to the running start we'd like to see it do. And I wonder if that may mean that it's premature, or that in fact maybe it's not a good idea. I'm just not sure, but I'm sort of reluctant for us to go ahead with it.
Yeah, sometimes though I think things take a while to get traction, and so I don't necessarily think because only a few people signed up initially that's the end of the end of the board. I think sometimes things will take a while to get up and running. So I'm for the Public Art Board, and I understand what Dan and Gary said about the doing this new process for board selection, but I tend to agree with Commissioner Ross, Commissioner Anderson, and Commissioner Jonas, so I'm going to support the ordinance as written. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2014-01.
I'm sorry, did you have a comment?
Oh, I'd just like to say too that I have another person who next month will submit an application for this board. And I haven't been physically invested, up to snuff in the last couple months, and I haven't contacted as many people that I know in the park who might be interested. So we probably will have more applicants.
Okay, and I apologize, we're gonna add the domestic partnership language.
Yeah, with the
Commissioner
change.
Ross suggested. Okay, so there's a motion with that language.
Correct.
Is there a second?
I'll second that, and I have a question.
Okay.
I want to make sure that, for example, we had an ecology board that was set by ordinance for several years before it actually became active and fully seated and actually transacted business, and was called upon as an advisory board. I want to make sure that if this public art board doesn't meet quorum or is not able to transact business, that's not going to preclude the commission from accepting works of art if they're donated or considering them or some other route to get to where we want to go.
Yeah, and I believe we discussed that at the last meeting, that it could be, anyone could put anything, bring anything forward to the commission, and we would put it on the agenda.
Right, you're creating an advisory board, you're not taking any of your authority away to do that, so yes.
Right.
Right, and because it's an advisory board, if the board does not give advice because it doesn't meet or for any other reason, the commission is not prohibited from moving ahead.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, so there's a motion by
And a
Commissioner
second.
Yes.
Anderson, second by Commissioner Ross. All in favor?
It's roll call.
This is an ordinance roll call.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Jonas?
Yep.
Commissioner Ross?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watts?
Yes.
And Mayor Coviello?
Yes. Okay, so we'll move on to item 10A, Resolution 2014-19.
This is a resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, ratifying the selection and appointment of board members to the Planning and Zoning Board, providing for an effective date.
Okay, staff.
So consistent with the ordinance that was just approved, this is the board appointment section of the agenda. And since this is our first time going through this, both Clerk Camara, the village attorney, and myself are here to kind of walk you through that process at any point in the process. Our recommendation is to allow those who are interested, go individual board by board, allow those who are interested in serving on the board and who are in attendance and have submitted their application to come up for about a minute, introduce themselves and express their interest, and then the commission will then vote based on the ballots that were provided to you. I'd like to remind you that ultimately, while you will be voting on quote-unquote secret ballot, there are no secrets in public records law, and they are all public records at the end of the day if we do receive a public records request.
Are they to be signed?
Your names are already printed on the top of them
Yes.
to avoid any forgetting.
Okay, so we're,
Yeah.
Commissioner Ross?
Yes, ma'am.
There seemed to be some confusion in the audience about what secret ballot meant, so there are no secrets.
There are no
It's
secrets.
all public record.
It's a written paper ballot where they have, for example, on Planning and Zoning Board, I believe there's 8 individuals who are interested in the board. The commission has a piece of paper in front of them. If someone would like to hold it up for us, if we have one to put on the screen. It has all 8 names on it. They will select 5 names on that ballot, and those who receive the 5 highest votes will then be appointed to the board.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we'll go through the applications in order, and if any of those individuals wanna speak, we'll do
I think
that.
that's best.
Okay, we'll address this particular resolution is for Planning and Zoning Board, correct?
Yes.
Okay, Gage, you're up.
Didn't realize we were going to speak, but okay. Gage Hartzong, I currently serve as chairman of Planning and Zoning Board, and I've had the honor to do so as chairman for 6 years now, I think, and I've been on the Planning and Zoning Board for 12 years, and I'd like to continue serving the village in that fashion. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's how it should be done. That was great.
Yeah, and actually, I think I went out of order. Is Carl?
Yes.
Carl?
Carl. Well, that was the order, it's on the agenda.
Sorry, my hearing aids are not doing too well tonight. Carl Bickle, Griffin Boulevard. I've been on planning and zoning for approximately 2.5 years. Missed only a couple of meetings when I was on vacation. And this year, I like planning and zoning, I like serving on the board.
Thank you. Is Elizabeth Hornbuckle here?
No.
Don't think so? Okay. Robert Moreno? No? Andrew Ollis, I know he's here.
Hello, Andrew Ollis, Northeast Fifth Avenue, Biscayne Park. I've been on the Planning and Zoning Board as vice chair for 7 years. Want to stay on the board. That's it.
Thank you. All right, Walter Pettis? Walter Pettis, no? Mario Rumiano? No? Doug Tannehill? Okay, so that's it for P and Z, right? Okay, so now, should the Commissioner Ross?
I have a question, because our ballots say must have 5 members, but we traditionally have chosen alternates to serve, so.
But the ordinance, I think, was
Well-
amended with respect to alternates, right?
You can definitely select as many alternates as you want, but I would suggest that you get your 5 members first.
And typically, how I've seen this done is then usually the next highest vote getter, and what, we can share that information and you can make your decision from there.
Can I comment on a conversation I've had with that board?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's my understanding that the 5 regular members who are Bickle, Hartung, Hornbuckle, Ollis, and Tannehill would all like to stay on the board. I will tell you that they've all functioned very well as a board. It's my understanding further that Rumiano is content to remain an alternate. And just for the record, if they're content, I'm content.
Okay. Commissioner Ross?
Just by way of thank you for all of the board members, not only the P and Z, but I know that it takes a lot out of your personal family time to come and transact business. And this particular board helps our homeowners that want to improve their properties, do it in a safe manner, do it according to code. So we appreciate your service. And we may not always listen to you, but we do understand that you take great effort to make the right choices. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments before we vote? Okay, so we'll go ahead and vote.
Should we just pass them on down?
So, Commissioner, are we going to vote for an alternative as well? Is that?
I did.
I did too.
So you
I
voted
did.
for 5 plus 1?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I did.
And you indicated who's the alternate?
Oh, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
We're going to have you hopping up and down all night.
Maria?
Sorry.
Okay, now you have to get your heavy-duty calculator to add up the votes.
Planning and Zoning Board in alphabetical order is Carl Bickle, Gage Hartung, Elizabeth Hornbuckle, Andrew Olis, Doug Tannehill, and the alternate is Mario Rumiano.
All right, motion?
I make a motion for passing 2014-19
With the aforementioned selections.
with the selections.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Ross, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay, item resolution 2014-20.
Resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, ratifying the selection and appointment of board members to the Code Compliance Board, providing for an effective date.
Okay, so again, we'll ask the individuals to come up and speak. Michael Beltran. No. Harvey Bilt. Harvey was here, he left. Dale Blanton.
Dale Blanton, 12025 Griffin. I've been on the board for over 16 years, and I'm glad to serve some more. Thanks.
Thank you.
More punishment.
Carmen DiBernardi. I don't see Carmen. Linda Dillon.
Didn't know we were going to have to say anything. Linda Dillon, 712 Northeast 115th Street. I've been on the board for the last 2 years, and I would like to continue. I submitted my thoughts about being on the board in a cover letter, which you've all received.
Thank you. All right, Garrett Kuehl.
You can call me Gary. Gary Kuehl, 111th Street. I'm currently the chair of Code Compliance Board. I think we have a very good board. I think there is an experience level that really is important to this board. We function very well. I'd like to continue as chair, and thank you.
Thank you. And Robert Moreno, I believe he's here. All right, any comments? Commissioner Ross?
I note that Carmen DiBernardi, who serves on this board, also expressed an interest in being on the ecology board.
Yes.
And the ecology board, I think, is a little bit light on members, so we might consider moving her to the ecology board. And I also want to advocate for Michael Beltran, who is young, husband of a young couple that's moved into the village. They live on Griffin Boulevard, and they're very interested in helping to improve property values, and I just recommend him for the board.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Ross. Commissioner Anderson?
I notice we have on these different boards, we have a few new people, which I'm really delighted to see. And I think we need to definitely take a look at these new people, and they want to serve our wonderful village, and we need to reach out and allow them to do that.
I've met Michael Beltran a couple times, and I agree with everything Roxy said.
Okay, all right, so we'll go vote. Are we choosing an alternate for this board as well, or?
Oh, I didn't do it.
You can, I was looking at just what Commissioner Ross was saying, that we want to make sure we don't leave one of our boards too light by moving people.
The Co-Compliance Board is Michael Beltran, Harvey Bilt, Dale Blanton, Linda Dillon, and Garrett Kuehl.
I make a motion to pass Resolution 2014-20.
Second. Second by Commissioner Jonas. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 2014-21.
A resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, ratifying the selection and appointment of board members to the Parks and Parkway Advisory Board, providing for an effective date.
Any comments? Oh, that's right, I'm sorry. Okay, Dan Keys, you want to speak, Dan?
Sure, I'd love to do it again.
Danny, that's a record for you.
Barbara?
Barbara Kuehl, 111th Street. I was on the board for 4 years. I served as an alternate for 2, and I'd like to be on as a permanent member. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Robert Moreno, Walter Pettis, Robert Silverman, Randy Wagner. All right. Comments by the commission?
I think this board has worked hard over a long period of time, has done a lot, and has a lot more to do. It will do better as a 5-person board, I think, give a little bit more view. I have spoken to Walter Pettis, who is currently on Recreation Advisory, and noted that he also put in his name for other boards, including this one. And I asked him which one he would prefer, and he said he'd rather stay on Recreation Advisory. So I would think in terms of maybe adding Robert Moreno, since he's shown a lot of interest. He's made himself available for pretty much all the boards.
Okay. Any other comments? Commissioner Ross?
I neglected to give my thanks to the Code Compliance Board, and I'm sorry for that. You provide an invaluable service to the village, as does the Park and Parkways Advisory Board. I think this is probably one of our longest-standing boards, and they have engaged in a number of projects that have helped beautify our common areas, and I just want to show our appreciation for your service. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments before we vote?
You're getting faster.
Okay, the members of our Parks and Parkway Advisory Board are Daniel Keys, Barbara Kuehl, Robert Moreno, Robert Silverman, and Randy Wagner.
Motion.
Sorry, motion.
Okay, make a motion to pass.
Just did. You can
Oh,
second.
second.
Second by Commissioner
Gotta say the
Anderson.
name of it.
All in favor?
So was Commissioner Jonas?
Aye. Yeah.
Aye.
Yes. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. All All right, 2014-22 Ecology Board.
A resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, ratifying the selection and appointment of board members to the Ecology Board, providing for an effective date.
Okay, Carmen DiBernardi is not here. Thomas Bliski.
Bliss.
Marie Smith.
Okay, Marie Smith, 12015 Griffin Boulevard. I have a marvelous record on your boards. 1 year on the foundation plus the ecology board. So that's it. I don't know what you're going to do with the fact of somebody serving on 2 boards, what your decision will be, okay?
Thank you, Marie. All right, any comments by the board, by the commission?
Marie, when was the last meeting of this board, do you know?
Pardon?
The last meeting of ecology, do you remember when it was?
I would say about 2 weeks ago.
And how often does it meet?
It has been meeting once a month or maybe 6 months, depending on what the members are doing.
Okay, and I'm sorry, Richard Strasberg? Nope. Okay, any comments?
Yeah, we have 4 people that put in for being on the ecology board, and I think we ought to support all 4.
Commissioner Ross?
Just to respond to Ms. Smith's comment on serving the foundation and the ecology board, I don't think that there's any prohibition because the foundation is set up under a separate structure than the advisory board ordinance. So until there's a change, and you're welcome to serve on both, I think.
And Mayor, if I can, correct.
Sure.
The only thing that prohibits it, there's nothing in our actual ordinance that we just amended that says you can't serve on 2 boards. So the only thing is what's called the dual office holding prohibition. But the dual office holding only applies to boards that have some final decision making. In our case, the Planning and Zoning Board and Code Compliance and 1 or 2 others perhaps. So you can be on more than 1 advisory board, for example, because it's not considered a dual office holding.
Okay. Any other comments before we vote? All right.
I have a comment.
Commissioner Ross?
Just that since we have 4 people, do we
Make
need
a
to
motion.
vote, and can we just all accept
That's
them
fine.
all by acclaim?
Okay.
Just do a motion accepting
I
them.
make a motion to accept all 4 applicants for the ecology board.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Ross, and Commissioner Watts actually seconded it before you
Okay.
seconded it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. The 2014-23.
A resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, ratifying the selection and appointment of board members to the Recreation Advisory Board, providing for an effective date.
Okay, Manny Espinoza.
Manny Espinosa, 780 Northeast 119th Street. Well, myself and my family are really anxious to do a lot of things here in the village. We are enjoying the village. My son and the girlfriend, they moved back home, I would say here. Well, my son, his girlfriend is from Virginia. But both of them have a doctoral in music performance. So they would love to become very active and help the community and bring a lot of activities that we all can enjoy. And just in addition to my application, I wanted to mention that I can be available also, and I would love to serve other boards. I can be part of the public art. I think it's a great idea, and I'm very supportive for that. And also become part of the Biscayne Park Foundation, if it's available.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Manny. Charlie McDonald.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Charlie McDonald. My wife Lori and I are raising our two daughters, Madeline and Mallory, on Northeast 7th Avenue, and we've been residents of the park for the last 8 years. I have spent the past 22 years working in the recreation and entertainment field, specifically in the cruise industry, and I am interested in serving our community and our residents, and hope to be able to provide my expertise for everyone here. Thanks very much for your consideration.
Great, thank you, Charlie. Patrick McGeehan. Robert Moreno. Walter Pettis. And Dan Samaria.
Dan Samaria, 1030 Northeast 121st Street. I have served on as chairperson of the Recreation Board, which was an honor to serve, and I was also on Parks and Parkway. I would like to continue. We have accomplished a lot in the Rec Board, and even though we were shorthanded many times, we still have a lot more we'd like to do for the community, so I hope that you will keep, we have two board members, Patrick and Walter, that have put applications, and I hope you would accept those two applications. That way we continue to have it. And also, I'm sorry, I didn't know his name. I definitely would love to have him on the board too, because I think there's a lot that we have to accomplish. And still a lot we all want to do.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Any comments for the commission?
Yeah, it'd be great to have Manny on a board. That'll be wonderful. I don't know Charlie McDonald, but pleasure to meet you. Walter wanted to stay on the board. I don't know Patrick either, but he's been on the board, and Dan has. We just put Robert Moreno on Parks and Parkways, so I think maybe with the other 5, it gives us a nice full board.
Okay. Is there Commissioner Watts?
Okay. I would like to thank this board for doing so much and being shorthanded in the past couple of years without a quorum. I think Dan has done a marvelous job, and I'm happy to see Mr. Espinoza applying, though I sort of hoped you would apply for the foundation. But now that you said, but I think that you can work either way with your interests, and you can serve both this board very well. So just thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Watts? I mean, Commissioner Ross, sorry.
I make a motion that we accept the remaining 5 applicants for the Recreation Advisory Board, and that we approve resolution number
23.
23, 2014-23.
I'll second that.
There's 6 candidates, right?
Moreno was appointed to.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so everyone but Moreno, since he's on the recreation, no. Parks and Parkways, okay.
Parkway.
So motion by Commissioner Ross, second by Commissioner Anderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Alrighty, resolution 2014-24.
Resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, ratifying the selection and appointment of board members to the Public Art Advisory Board, providing for an effective date.
Okay, Larry Newberry, Brad Piper, Susan Weiss. Okay, there's only 3 on here, so motion.
I make a motion to go ahead and approve the 3 people that applied.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Anderson.
Okay.
Second by Commissioner Watts. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay, resolution 2014-25.
Resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, ratifying the selection and appointment of board members to the Biscayne Park Foundation, providing for an effective date.
Okay, just before we get to that item, Commissioner Ross?
I just wanted to make sure that now that we've appointed these board members, there's a requirement, Miami-Dade County requires that advisory boards receive training from, I believe it's Joe Santorino's office, so I just want to make sure that we schedule that for them.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Ross. All right, back to 2014-25. So you read it in full?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
A lot of them.
1 second. Okay, we have Sylvia Linky.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, my name is Sylvia Linke. I live on 118th Street, and I'm serving the city as a resident for 12 years now. So I am a stylist freelance for the last 22 years, and I work internationally for advertising, commercial, fashion. So I think I can provide a lot of new and fresh input to the park, and I hope you will welcome me for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And George Marinoni?
Yes, I live in 1002 Northeast 118th Street. I've been a resident for 25 years, and then I want to participate more in the community, so I'm applying for the Biscayne Park Foundation. And
Thank you, George. Now, I know there's only two people submitted, correct?
Yes.
So Manny indicated that he would be interested. Can we?
Well, the other three are.
Oh, there's
are
already
still
three.
in their
Okay, so it's a
terms.
full board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I
Supreme,
apologize.
Joe, and Marie are still within their terms.
Right.
Okay, I apologize. All right, so is there
I make a motion to go ahead and approve the two candidates, so this brings the board up to the full 5.
Okay, Commissioner Anderson, motion, second by Commissioner Jonas, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to old business, item 11A. I think that's you, Mr. Village Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. This past Tuesday, we were able to, the manager and I were able to set up a meeting with Stephen Johnson, the city manager of North Miami, as well as our city attorney, Regine Monistan, as well as their public works director. We went over to their offices and started off a little slowly as far as the need for an agreement, but I think we worked through why there's a need for an agreement as every other city in Florida that gets water from another municipality. So they have agreed to look at the agreement and get back to us in the next 2 weeks. They had not yet looked at the agreement. Now, I will tell you, the agreement's been over there for a long time, since probably the 1-year anniversary is about now. But they have a very formal process of when they look at documents and the authorization that they have, and they've had some changes. But we were able to have that meeting. We were able to get a commitment. They will respond to us on our proposed agreement, which is simply consistent with what you see Bonaventure had with Sunrise and Weston has with Sunrise now, and Miami Beach has for some of their smaller adjoining sister cities. We're hopeful that they will continue to work with us on that, and I told them I would tell you what I told you right now, and also that we would be looking for a response for them by our next meeting, and they told us they would do that. So that's the long and short of it. It was a little. I would like to have seen them have looked at the agreement they've had for several months, but this is their process.
Comments?
Just general question. So this is now at the staff level. Does it behoove our electeds to contact North Miami's electeds and try to further the conversation?
I think it might be best to see what staff's response is first, so it's not perceived that before they even come back, we're already going to their bosses.
When did you?
That certainly is an option, maybe later on if it needs to be.
So 2 weeks. When would the 2 weeks expire? When did you meet with them last?
Well,
week?
we missed February 25th, Tuesday. So you're looking at really next Tuesday, a week today, really. You know, the key was that I have response back for our next meeting at the latest, but 2 weeks was what we're expecting.
Okay.
And then depending on that response, I think the suggestion that was just made may be appropriate then.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. All right. Any other comments? Okay. Item 11B, designation of a commission representative for annexation issues.
I'll
Staff?
defer to you.
I'm sorry?
This was included in the annexation staff report at the last meeting, and I think in the quickness of how the item went, we overlooked it. Staff has recommended that we appoint one member of the commission who would be our spokesperson to the county and other interests regarding annexation issues.
Okay. We'll open it up for comment. Commissioner Ross?
Our charter does designate the mayor as the sort of spokesperson, default spokesperson for all village business, but, and certainly the mayor needs to be part of the process. I offer myself as a designee on this issue because I've been following it so closely for quite some time now. And, my office, as your offices are, right downtown, so the access is a little easy to get down there and speak to commissioners or committee members as we may need to.
Okay. Any other comments? Commissioner Anderson?
Yeah, the mayor for our charter is the spokesperson, and we're fortunate enough that the mayor that we have right now, this is sort of his expertise. But I think we need to have an alternate, and I would like to see is the mayor be the first one on this, and as a backup, Commissioner Ross. Because I think we have two people that are really good.
Okay, any other comments?
I agree with Commissioner Anderson.
Okay. Commissioner Jonas?
Works for me.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think, I mean, I would be honored to take the lead, but I agree with Commissioner Ross that, you know, in the event that I can't make it due to obligations with work, she can attend. So I think we can sort of work together in that regard. And we've been actually working together very well, both with respect to the state issues in Tallahassee. So I suspect that we'll do the same at the county issues. So is there do we need a motion but a consensus?
You can do it by consensus.
Okay. You have it? Okay.
Yeah, you have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to item 12A. Commissioner Ross, a discussion on traffic calming measures. Does staff want to address this, or Commissioner Ross, you want to take the lead?
I brought this up as a discussion item because traffic calming is always an issue among our constituents, and in the recent election campaign, I was approached by several residents who wanted to request traffic calming devices at certain corners, in particular north-south on 8th Avenue, 10th Avenue, and it's always been a goal of mine to put a stop sign also at the southeast corner of the park here, 9th Court and 113th Street, going east and west. And I'm interested in hearing what the chief has to say, his recommendations about those sites in particular, or any others that that you and your officers see that need.
Well, we've gone out and we've reviewed some of these areas. We've gone to 10th Avenue and 8th Avenue and noticed, you know, one of the huge problems that's always brought up is the lack of a stop sign on 121 Street, which creates a huge gap of cars having a tendency to speed. The issues that we face with that, just like in a lot of these traffic issues, is that you must petition the county in order to do a traffic study and then go ahead and make a recommendation whether they will allow a stop sign to be put there or not. And in the particular issues of 10th and 8th Avenue on 121 Street, we're also dealing with the fact that one of those stop signs would have to be on North Miami side. So we would have to actually get North Miami involved with the whole process in order to be able to make this work. Another one of the traffic calming measures that we're looking at is here around the park, around the rec center, especially in the areas nearest to the tot lots, the basketball courts, where you have a lot of children who, you know, come to the park, they ride their bicycles around. So one of my main concerns, and I know the manager agrees with me on this, is the need to possibly put some speed bumps on 9th Avenue, on 9th Court, on 115th Street. And we'll look at the possibility of 113th just to slow the traffic around the park, especially since, you know, it's always been my contention that around an area where children tend to converge, especially in a place like Biscayne Park, there should be a lower speed limit around this area. just for safety issues. Now, placing these speed bumps would actually slow the traffic down naturally, and it would, improve the safety of the area.
We are also investigating the use of CITT funds for the purchase of those speed bumps, and the chief has picked these out of a professional catalog, and we've given you an example of them, but our hope is that we can possibly fund them through CITT funds, but if they're not that expensive, and it's something we might be able to find through our cost savings.
I have a question.
Commissioner Anderson?
Chief, I have
Yes, sir.
two questions. One, do we have to go through the county to allow us to be putting this on the road?
I don't believe for the speed bumps you do, but I will be more than happy to, I'll be researching that. But the speed bumps, I don't think so.
The second question I have, speed bumps does a lot of punishment to suspension systems of vehicles. Just, you have to sort of crawl over them, because it's usually in parking lots where they have that. Speed tables or speed humps, which is the last one on down here, basically those are designed to soften when you go over, unless you exceed the speed it was designed for. Then it turns into like a speed bump. But outside of that, it doesn't tear up your suspension of your car.
I'm in agreement that any device, whether it's a table or a speed bump, is going to be a lot better than having nothing at all at this point. And Commissioner Russ, I think on the issues of 10th and 8th and 119 to 121, what I'm going to do in the interim is I'm going to put our speed trailers almost as a permanent fixture on those two streets to try to see if using the speed trailers, at least for now, while we're investigating these other options, we'll be able to slow the traffic down at least, a bit in those areas. And what we'll do is we'll switch them from facing into Biscayne Park to facing into North Miami on a weekly basis. Just flip the directions around, and more or less that way we can have an idea of which way the trouble is. Is it going out or is it coming back in?
Commissioner Watts? Oh, Commissioner Ross?
In response to that, so those speed trailers, do they keep track, they document and keep track of?
One of my speed trailers, which unfortunately is down right now, but they're supposed to be replacing it, it's one of our brand new ones, does have the capability to do speed surveys. So it comes with the software and everything that we can download onto the computer and see the patterns of traffic and what the speeds are coming through the area.
Okay, so those would be on the two median streets, 8th Avenue and 10th Avenue?
8th and 10th, I figure that for now, that's going to be our best bet in trying to reduce speeds in that area, plus a little more stepped up enforcement in that area.
Commissioner Watts?
Okay. I've long thought that 10th Avenue intersection was a problem myself, but I was wondering, with 8th and 10th Avenues, is there an excess of people not observing the law or accidents, or do you know in your experience?
From an accident standpoint, no, and that's going to be one of the main
it?
problems that we're going to face when we're petitioning the county to look at these areas, is the fact that when they do their surveys, they look for accidents or, an excess amount of problems in that area.
Yeah.
I see the concerns of the residents who actually live there because of the tendency to speed when you have a long straightaway, especially if you're shooting out into North Miami or you're trying to catch one of the lights or something, to that effect. But I think that slowly working these issues, we'll be able to start reducing some of the problems in the particular areas of concern.
Because I think I've almost had an accident there a couple of times or something. I think that's about it. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments?
We had a Crime Watch meeting back in September when I believe the chief and maybe some of the other officers were there. Some of the comments from the residents were concerning traffic issues, and what they were looking for were the removable speed bumps tables that you bring to us now, thank you. And also if there was a possibility of putting children at play signs, particularly near here in the park, or signs that say somehow we're watching. I know I've seen very artistic, almost like three-dimensional paintings put on the pavement that show a child crossing the street or something like that. And it would be an interesting concept to have,
Another-
to use for art and to slow traffic.
Another issue, though, that we do have in the village is a long time ago, and you can tell on a lot of these streets, there are painted dividers and stop bars. And there are a lot of stop bars and dividers which have faded out throughout the years, which haven't been upkept. So those are traffic safety issues in and of themselves. You know, cruising around with the, going around with the manager today and looking at a lot of these areas, you can see, you know, clearly the markings where cars know exactly what side of the street they're on, especially on our narrow streets, but in time, they've all faded away.
Is there a possibility of changing the stop bars if we were to replace them? Because in some instances, if you stop at the stop bar, still you have to stop again, go a little further because of, I mean, it's field of vision.
Yeah, we, as the chief said, we spent a lot of time driving around the village today, and we actually found there a lot of instances where the stop bar and the stop sign don't act, or 3-4 feet away from each other. So we will be addressing those issues. You'll look for opportunities to change where either the stop bar is or the stop sign, depending on the scenario. I do like the idea of perhaps painting in the road, children at play, like Commissioner Ross just said, because I know there is some concerns about visual clutter with signage, so that might be a way to address that. And I just kind of wanted to recognize Commissioner Anderson's comments regarding the difference between a speed bump and a speed table, and we'll definitely keep that in mind as we look through products. But we're the stop bars were on it, Commissioner Watts.
Okay. I have another question. Well, when I sort of wonder about driving over an image of a child, I sort of like the idea of that myself. But how many of these speed bumps do you envision around the rec center?
What I would recommend is 2 on each street with just enough of a division to force the vehicles to continue a slow speed of travel in between. And then you have the stop signs naturally on each corner on 113th and 115th.
I'd appreciate it at some point if you could come back with the diagram just of the blocks so we can see exactly where.
Okay, yeah, it would. I'll have to come out here with a traffic wheel and take some measurements because what you have to do is you have to take into consideration a stop sign, then a small distance where someone's going to visually see a speed bump or a speed table. So they're slowing down already. They go over the first one, they see the second one, they continue to slow down. Once they go over the second one, they see the stop sign, so they're continuing to slow down, and that's the full effect of the speed bump, where you want a continuous slow speed all the way through the travel. Not giving somebody the opportunity to go over one speed bump and then accelerate to try to make up the time they spent on that speed bump.
But seeing that there's a stop sign at the end of the block and it's not such a long block,
You would be surprised.
Okay.
And don't you have to coordinate the spacing with respect to driveways, driveway openings?
Correct. It would be, you know, something that we'd have to undertake to actually look at the spacing and the proper areas where we're going to place these.
Commissioner Ross?
We received, I think we all received an email from a resident earlier this week, or maybe it was late last week, with some code infractions, but she pointed to a particular corner on 11th Place that looks like there might be a line of sight issue when a vehicle is parked in the swale area there.
It's the site
And
we visited today.
I note that there isn't a stop bar on the street where the stop is, coming into 11th Avenue, 117th I think it is. But I wonder if because of the curvature on 11th Place, and I know Commissioner Anderson has been on a mission to try to get more stop signs along 11th Place.
Right.
If they're not going to allow for a stop sign, because I think the county ruled against it, maybe we could consider putting something like hidden driveway, just to alert the drivers on 11th Avenue that there are vehicles entering that may not see them coming.
That would be a possibility. But I believe the one that we're talking about on 11th Place, where there is a stop sign and there's a line of sight issue with a particular vehicle that's been parked there and some residents have complained about, we actually handled that issue today, and we should have some resolution on the movement of that vehicle from there on a permanent,
It's always good when, when you can get people to buy into the solution.
And the other problem that we found with the stop sign going right onto 11th Place is that the stop bar is way ahead of the stop sign. So that's another one where the actual placement of the stop sign needs to be repositioned to bring it closer to the actual street, so the people are not stopping in a place where they can't actually see what's coming across. So if we eliminate the van, move the stop sign a little bit forward, that should alleviate a lot of the danger of that particular corner.
I'm glad we're having this conversation, and I hope that develops a plan as we get into the budget season so that we could address some of these issues.
Correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Anderson?
Chief, Commissioner Ross, what you brought up on 11th Place, where that area where the road actually makes a turn, it's sort of almost like a blind area there. I know there's a warning notice out there, I think it's like 15 miles an hour or whatever it is, but
Correct.
people don't, they don't abide by it. I think that is one of the places too to take a look at, if you can put in those speed tables, is right where that turn is, so people will, when they approach that turn, slow down to go around that way, because it's blind. You're completely blind until you get around into that turn.
Oh, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and what we need to do is to basically build a priority list. I'll work with the manager to build a priority of areas of concern where we'll start with the rec center, which, is a big issue with the children that come here, and then work our way outward to hit the primary spots that are brought, to our attention.
Okay, so can we move forward with either the tables or the bumps around the rec center? They're not
We
that-
believe so. We're just going to confirm with the county that we don't need any permitting through them or concurrence with them. We're going to identify budgeted funds or CITT funds, and we will move forward. But I believe Commissioner Watts has asked for a diagram of placement, so I think by the time we do our due diligence, it will be time for next meeting, and we can just prepare. We can make it a goal, I can't promise, but we can make it a goal to have all our answers in place and be back to you at either the April 1st meeting or the May meeting with this information. And then
Okay.
we'll go forward right from there.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chief. All right, item 12B, discussion of law enforcement assessment fee, requested by Commissioner Ross.
I was approached last year by the attorneys working with the city of North Lauderdale on this issue for them. And it's something that they're trying to move through the legislature. I'm sure the attorney could better describe it for us, so I'm gonna ask Mr. Attorney.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ross was talking about this, as she said last year. Originally, it came from the city of North Lauderdale, was a big proponent of it. And it's looking to have a law passed that has police considered a special assessment. And later on under village attorney, I'm going to talk about the assessments generally. But basically, in order to be a special assessment, there has to be a value to the real property, and then it has to be apportioned in some reasonable fashion. And what has happened over the years, for example, is there's been rulings from the court. Clear special assessment things are usually roadway improvements, parks and rec construction and improvements, water and sewer improvements. Several years ago, there was fire and EMS assessments that came out, and North Lauderdale being one of them, that did a fire and EMS assessment. They were sued, and the court found that fire assessment would directly affect real property because you're talking about the buildings and burning down without fire. So you could do a special assessment, but the EMS was more to the person, to the individuals, and would not be a special assessment. So from that, people lawyers, we all realized that, hey, a police would also then is more towards the person than the property, although you could make the argument. But nobody wanted to take that risk of doing that without there being some legal mechanism. So North Lauderdale is doing what's called a special assessment, and they've pushed it. And last year was a special act. It was a local bill just for Broward County. It has now been introduced as Senate Bill 884, sponsored by Senator Smith, and also as a House Bill 371. And it's meant to be revenue neutral. So for example, and what you see here in these laws is reference to that police makes up a large portion of many cities' budgets, and that it actually stresses that the cities that have the high millage rate are the most affected. And what happens here is a special assessment, like I said, is a portion to the benefit of the property. What they say is that there's an injustice in property values and the way our millage rates are, because there's Save Our Homes, there's other exemptions, so that it widely differs with your neighbor depending on how long you've been in there of what you're paying for police. But police is for everybody, and everybody has a benefit, and everybody really should be paying that direct cost. The two bills as proposed are to be revenue neutral. So, for example, let's say you did a special assessment for the equivalent of 2 millage rates, 2 mills for police, and you took that out as a special assessment, then the millage rate would go down 2 points, okay? Which for cities like ours is very good, so we're not so close to a ceiling. Heidi and I on last Tuesday as well, we spoke with the Dave Erick's lobbying firm. They are kind of the lead lobbyist for North Lauderdale, again, who's pushing it the most, and they believe that the Senate bill probably has some legs and may be able to get through the process in time. It's currently proposed, if it's passed, the effective date would be July 1st, so it would be in time for us to make our changes, I believe, for our taxes next year. And ironically, today, both of these bills were actually introduced in the Senate and the House was this morning. So they are definitely the first bills that are going through, and it's just a matter of whether or not there's traction. So I think one of the conversations we had with the lobbyists as well is if that's something that this village would like to see that bill. It's an option, mind you. You don't have to do it. You know, we could certainly do a resolution supporting it, or we could just at least know about it and decide as it moves forward. We'll have more meetings, obviously, as this thing moves forward. So that's what it is. It's a special assessment. It takes it's revenue neutral, and that the millage rate would go down, but that would be nice, I think, for cities like ours in North Lauderdale.
Commissioner Ross?
I think one of the beneficial features is that it allows for more transparency in that residents will, or property owners will know exactly what it is they're paying for, and it's not part of the big general fund. We all value our police services, and now we will know this amount of money is what buys us that value. Not only for transparency, but also so that every property owner is paying the same amount, similar to the sanitation fee, so that we don't have that disparity between neighbors where one property owner, because of exemptions, basically doesn't really pay for police services or pays minimal amounts. And it creates a situation where throughout the state, a city can opt into it. You're not automatically required to use it, but you can access it as a budgetary tool.
Correct.
And just as a reminder, our police budget is currently 43% of our budget, so I know the attorney used the example of 2 mills, but it's quite significant for the village. 7.6 mills. It's a quite significant portion of our budget.
It would be equal to 7.6 mils?
Well, it's 13,000 per tenth of the mill. Then it's gonna be 130,000 for the mill. So in our budget's 995,000 for police.
I don't know, I'll have to look at that number.
Our
But
whole millage
it's
is only
43%.
9.7.
It's 43%.
Of our budget, right?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm thinking it's more in the 4 range, 4 mils.
If you put even just a half a mill at 43, you're looking at 4 point, almost 5% in millage.
In speaking with, I'm sorry, in speaking with Ms. Jackson, with the lobbyist group, she felt that if the commission was really interested in this item, that perhaps we could pass a resolution of support. So if the commission wants to direct us to do that, we can bring that back next month.
Yeah, no, I thank Commissioner Ross for bringing this forward. I think could be a significant opportunity. So I'm in favor of, drafting a resolution and looking further into it and tracking it to see what happens. Okay. Consensus, yes? All right.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to do it as a draft and adopt, you could actually make the motion to draft and adopt it. I could then draft it and you could sign it. I mean, it's a very simple motion supporting this, so
Okay.
if you
So
want.
I'll make the motion that we draft and adopt a resolution in support of the law enforcement assessment bills.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Ross, second by Commissioner Jonas. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, item 12C was removed. 12D, Commissioner Jonas, request for median plans from Parks and Parkways Advisory Board.
Yeah, I think we need a general plan for all the medians in the park, either some unified plan that makes them all the same or similar, or a plan that highlights different things in different parts of the park. But what we have now is a kind of a hit or miss kind of arrangement with specimen trees that don't necessarily match and essentially no understory. And I really would like to see us begin to have real development in the medians, the network of medians we have. I think there was an effort like this some years back, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen it. But in any case, I was hoping that we could ask Parks and Parkways to take maybe the next 6 months, if that would be a reasonable amount of time, and survey all the medians, come up with whatever kind of plan they think would be nice for the neighborhood, and present it so we can pass it, and then see what we would like to do about that in the future.
Okay. Any other comments? When you say survey the medians, obviously it's just them doing their own surveying, not incurring costs.
No cost.
Not formal surveying.
And not to do anything.
Okay.
Only to map out the medians and say what they'd like to see there.
Okay.
Yeah, what you're looking for is like a master plan of what's...
Master plan of fully developed medians.
Okay,
I would just like to say that perhaps we could ask them to look at the,
Can't hear you, Barbara.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The street study, the materials that Commissioner Ross provided us in the packet has a section in it that actually gives advice as to ideas about how to have the medians be complementary to one another and such like that. So that's something that
For safety issues or for aesthetics?
For safety and for aesthetics as well as
Okay.
safety. So that's something we might want to look at.
Okay, so the consensus is to have the Parks and Parkways Advisory Board start to prepare that study or that plan.
That would be my wish, and we could have them comment if they want. Some
Sure.
of them are here.
Comment?
Be nice if the last 5-10 years worth of minutes had been read wherein discussion took place on this issue on Parks and Parkways. And our issues in addressing anything with regard to the medians, okay, has been you can very quickly make grandiose plans that there's no commitment to fund, okay? Not only that, you're talking about a $100,000 landscape architectural plan you're talking about, okay, if it's done well, okay? That considers infrastructure such as irrigation, maintenance requirements, the existing conditions on sites that are there. You know, to say, you know, Parks and Parkways should go out and design a plan, you know, we can take a shot at it, but you know, it's work, okay? And there's a whole sum of $4,000 in the budget this year for planting bushes, okay? That may be off a few $1,000s, okay? And I would ask the commission, you know, that it think about how much money it might have to spend next year, and
To do what?
to implement any plans that are.
I didn't ask you to implement. Dan, one of my occupational hazards is I want to know what your fantasy life looks like.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
Well, again, you know,
I have other occupations.
even my fantasy life is a lot of work, okay? You know, so I would rather not spend a lot of time, because there's a lot of stuff, a lot of work sitting in boxes at my house, you know, that we've already done, okay? And literally 10 years worth of trying to get a bush removed, okay? And I'm suggesting that maybe the commission would come up with some priority areas, okay? A median. No, that's a lot of stuff. That's too much stuff.
Like for example, Dan, you have, I don't think we're looking for, I think, a basic analysis. Like for example, you walk down and you see a palm tree that's 2 inches from an oak tree. I don't know.
No, that's been done. The manager has that in her office.
Okay, so there's a plan to remove one or the other.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, those are the types of things that I would be looking for. Commissioner Ross?
I can appreciate what Dan Keyes is telling us, and he obviously has put a lot of time and effort into helping us improve our medians. It's only been in the last 4 years that we've really dedicated some funds and through forestry grants really put together some monies to address some of the issues that need to be addressed for a long time. I can pledge to you my support that it is my intention to find the dollars, whether it's through grant or through dedicated general fund monies, to make sure that we continue to address these things. It is a priority for me to install some entry features on the north, on the north, entering into the village and coming across the railroad track. Maybe those are areas that we could focus on as the next priority after the 6th Avenue Bridge comes together. If it's too large of a task, and I know that you have over the years done different inventories that have helped the manager, the prior manager and this manager prioritize how to address the medians and where to get the best bang for our buck. But if it's too large to redo that, and I understand that it will be, if we can maybe focus on those entryways and make that our next priority.
Commissioner Watts?
I was on that, before the board became a board and was a committee, I was on that committee. And I remember spending a hot summer, it seems like every other week we met, going down 10th Avenue, analyzing every single block at the median on 10th Avenue. It's an enormous task. And we'll never have the money unless, you know, I win the lottery or one of you wins the lottery. We'll never have the money to do all of those things to fulfill anyone's fantasy for the medians. And I think that if we focus on the entranceways or choose a couple of medians, just to say, okay, these are the ones that we're going to work on and have a plan for. I think that doing the entire village, it would be asking people who are volunteers for a commitment of time that is just excessive.
And I would say that we need to come back to you with questions as to what level of commitment you can make to maintenance dollars, okay? We had a commentary from Commissioner Ross last time about the cost of irrigating the median on Northeast 6th Avenue being quite high, and, you know, you have to, one of the decisions you have to make is, you know, can you fund and then can you maintain irrigation either throughout or at individual locations, because, you know, you can say native plants, you know, xerophytic plants and so forth will, you know, plant them and they don't need any water. Well, that's not true. If you want a hammock to look like a hammock, you can plant a hammock and it'll pretty much maintain itself after it's established, but we're not going to be planting a hammock in the medians in the village, most likely. You know, you need irrigation in order to have things look good. You know, if we don't get it, then we have to do the best we can. But there's a cost to that, and then there's a cost to maintaining it, and then there's a cost of maintaining the landscaping that you're gonna put in. So, you know, somebody needs to do a little, maybe some projections, because that's, you know, not something we were able to do, as to how much more each year can you, you know, provide towards a maintenance program to maintain what you put in.
So Dan, would you be amenable to doing what I think Commissioner Ross said, is addressing, maybe start with the entry points to the village and creating a plan?
Yes, I mean, I very much appreciate this. It's been on our agenda forever. We haven't gotten any traction, getting any interest in it, so I appreciate the interest specifically in that particular item. Our thought process, you know, was to begin to embellish the exterior entrances to the village. And this is not a secret. It actually, you know, probably 8, 9, 10 years ago, there was irrigation meters put in at our recommendation and so forth. And the idea was that this study of those locations could be made that would help us to make decisions throughout the village, possibly then at the ends of other, at the ends of medians as a secondary project, and then filling in between so that you have some uniformity through the village in how you develop kind of fairly throughout the village, without doing all one meeting at one time, and then 10 years later you have money to do another one. So that would be the kind of the way that we would try to proceed, and try to give you some guidance, and maybe funnel to you some questions for you to answer as we design. You know.
All right, thank you, Dean. Commissioner Anderson?
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you that you brought up that we have a difficulty on being able to maintain what we have, and as more things get added, for irrigation stuff, what I'm asking is for you to take a look on whatever you're designing of what takes the least amount of maintenance and the least amount of irrigation.
Okay.
Because, you know, it's pointless to go ahead and, you know, let's say we do a front area of a median, and it takes a lot of maintenance and a lot of water to think that we can go ahead and keep that and just keep adding more to it. I think we need to be realistic, and we need to go ahead and have some kind of a plan, have something that, you know, that all the medians look the same as far as entrances or design, some kind of an overall design, but it's got to be practical for maintenance and irrigation.
Okay, any other comments from the commission? All right, so the consensus is to move forward with a plan for the entry points?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll
Yeah.
give you a stepwise development of a spot. I just want to say that our next meeting is not going to be on the scheduled date of the 18th, but on the 25th. We're moving it 1 week forward if the clerk will allow us to do that. Oh, excuse me, not the 25th, the 26th, March 26th, as opposed to the 19th.
I have a question for Commissioner Ross.
Okay.
Commissioner Ross, when you're talking about the landscaping, the entranceways, are you also thinking of a sign, "Welcome to Biscayne Park," or something like equivalent to the signs in North Miami? Those kinds of, or just
I wouldn't say equivalent to
no,
the signs in
akin
North
to.
Miami, but that could be part of the plan. I'm just trying, all of that adds dollars to
I know.
to what we're trying to accomplish. And my goal is to sort of cue drivers, here you are coming into Biscayne Park. So whether it's a sign that says it or just really nice landscaping, then
Okay.
Because I was thinking, if it is a sign with landscaping, they'd have to know what the sign's going to, the size of the sign or the shape of it would determine to a certain extent the landscaping shows.
right. I think landscaping will give us the biggest bang and really beautify the area rather than get bogged down into designing a sign, and you know, it just becomes an extensive process.
Okay.
But I do want to be mindful of irrigation and the cost of irrigation now that North Miami's gone to a conservation-minded sort of scaled rate. if, if it's more economical to put in our own pumps, maybe, that, you know, our own well, it all could be part of the plan.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Thanks, Dan.
thank you, Dan. Okay, so item 12E, discussion regarding retention of lobbyists for village interests in county and state. Commissioner Ross, the manager, and I went to Tallahassee, as many of you know, and we lobbied for funds regarding two projects. One is the master plan for drainage, and the second is the repairs to the log cabin, and also to construct a village hall annex building. So it became apparent that, you know, there's many people out there this year with their hands out. There's money available. There's a surplus, and it's also an election year, and so the competition is stiff in getting our items on the list and to be approved in the budget. So we had a productive meeting with some key legislators. We met with key senators. Our representative also helped us, and I think that we have a good chance in getting it past the first step, which is getting it on the list and having the support of a senator, having the senator sponsor it. Our Senator Oscar Brannen has indicated that he will support the two projects. With respect to the log cabin, we asked for $1 million to both repair the log cabin and also to build an annex building. And for the water project, we asked for, I believe, $150,000 for the master plan. So, you know, the wild card is whether the governor will veto the request or not. But it became apparent that, you know, we went up there and we had some FaceTime with these senators. But I think it's key to continue that discussion. And we obviously can't travel up there constantly, so, you know, I think these issues are critical, and I'm not proposing that we retain a lobbyist forever, but I think now is the time that we really need someone up there to have their eyes and ears open to further our interests. And the same goes for the issue of annexation at the county level. You know, again, that's a critical issue, and I think that somebody that's really in with the county and the county commissioners would be helpful in getting us over the finish line and distinguishing us from all these other applications that are before the county now on annexation, because I do think that we have a compelling argument with respect to annexation that really sets us apart from many of the other cities. So I'd like the manager to go through the budget and maybe outline where some of these funds can come from.
In looking at the budget, I've identified 3 possible 4 existing line items where we have some funds available, if the commission is interested.
How much are we talking about?
How much will it cost us?
It depends upon, there's many options. We can choose one person to do both. It's more likely that we would choose 2 people, one that specializes in Tallahassee and one in the county. So there's many different options, and I think the next step would be to go and speak to some lobbyists and get some quotes. But why don't you speak first to the
So to give you an idea of the funds that we may have available, in the last year's budget, we budgeted $5,000 for strategic planning. As you know, we had a very successful session this past weekend, and I think that the cohesiveness of the commission, if we needed to reconvene again, we will not need the use of an outside facilitator, so that's $5,000 that is budgeted. In the annexation or planning budget, $15,000 was budgeted. We have expended $7,400, which leaves us about $7,500 and some change. The funds that we have expended are the $4,000 that we committed to our planners for the finalization of the annexation report, as well as the fee to submit to the county for annexation. That leaves us $7,500 in that. During last year's budget, we also budgeted $2,000 for a lobbyist. So there was $2,000 set aside. The fourth, it's a possibility, and it's just something we can, it's one of those issues where I see both sides of the coin. We budgeted $10,000 in outside legal. We have not touched that Generally, we use that for labor. We have not had any, we're 6 months into the year, we have not had any labor issues that would require litigation, and I'm very hopeful that we won't going forward. I'm not saying to rob that 100%, but if we'd like to touch a little bit of that, that's just another pocket of money that's under consideration. So if you add up the first three that I talked about, we're at 14,500.
I don't know what that means without knowing what a lobbyist costs.
A lobbyist generally would charge a city like this anywhere from 16 to 20,000 a year. And speaking to some lobbyists, they have considered offering us anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200 a month. What the issue comes down to is, do we want to engage with a Tallahassee lobbyist for the remainder of the session? Basically, you call that one issue, one session. They'll come up with a lump sum fee, and that's what it will cost us. The annexation issue might go on much longer, and that's where you're probably looking at the monthly cost to retain a lobbyist. Ultimately, it's a return on investment decision.
I got a question on the money for on the annexation you're talking about. We know we're going to have to go ahead and be funding an election over there. Was that the money for the election coming out of that same pile, or was it someplace else?
If the election was to take place this fiscal year, it would come out of that, but I don't project that that election would take place this fiscal year.
Okay.
And I believe, I'm sorry, I don't have my annexation file with me, but if you recall, it was about 3,300, 33 or 3,600
Right,
is what
right.
comes to mind.
Is that if it's a standalone election, or is that if we piggyback it onto the November election?
Actually, the response we received from the supervisor of elections is it's a mail-in ballot, and that's the cost for the mail-in ballot.
Oh.
Comments?
What we do is basically a small part-time job, and that's why it pays us what it pays us. Other communities like ours essentially don't pay elected officials at all. Back in about 2006, commissioners got $3,000 a year, and the mayor got $6,000, and they reduced that by a third to what it is now. And I wonder if we should be thinking about maybe sacrificing our own salaries or reducing them, so we put a little bit more back in the pot for things like this.
I mean, we can certainly discuss that. I mean, and Commissioner Ross and I, when we went up to Tallahassee, the village paid half and we paid half. So I think, and I'm fine to discuss the salary issue, but I think we certainly are willing to work and sacrifice and spend our own money. These are critical issues, and we have to have somebody up there. I mean,
Right.
there's no doubt. I mean, in other words, we can spend our money and the village's money, and Commissioner Ross and I and the manager can go up there 3 more times. But having someone there every day.
I agree with you.
And
I'm
again,
just
it's not
talking
going to be
about
a
how to
month.
get the money.
Yeah, it's not going to be a monthly, a year-long retainer. I think it's just going to be for this session to push this forward. And I think the money's there. I mean, the manager just outlined where it would come from.
I'd just like for us to go ahead and get some quotes or something of what we're talking about. I mean, we know how much money we have, and we need it at both places. We need it for the county, and we need it at the state.
Okay,
And
but the state, what would be the process to get this done on the state side? Because they're in session for 60 days, right? And then how soon thereafter when is the budget finally adopted? Do we know?
Shortly after.
The state budget?
The state budget?
The state budget, yeah.
It's pretty
It's
much,
proposed then, and it gets passed, and then goes to the governor.
you can expect
So
it to be
usually
in the
So we-
governor
it's
within,
been delayed. It's a short session. I mean, you're looking at 3 months most.
Yeah.
I mean, so we have to act fairly quickly on the state side of this. I think. Commissioner Ross?
It's clear to me that I'm pleased that this commission seems to be working so well with common goals. Even though we all have maybe some differences, we're able to discuss them, that the strategic planning funds that we had set aside, we're not gonna need those. So, and the first priority, given what's going on in the county with their trying to work out their processes for annexation, that seems to be at a standstill for 60 days now. So the first priority, I think, is Tallahassee. And I would suggest that we use some of that strategic planning money, maybe not the whole 5,000, but what is reasonable to engage someone as soon as we can to protect our interests up there. As the mayor says, you know, we were up there, we spoke to a lot of people, we seem to have gotten some support, some pushback. We spoke to the governor's staff as well, and it's really important to have someone up there day in and day out who has a basket of things, a basket of interests that they're advancing. So that's my suggestion.
I support that.
I agree. Commissioner Watts?
I would like to know, if we were going to ask for quotes, I would like to know the difference between someone in Tallahassee who will handle both issues or just the one, water issue. Because I think that, and I hate to be negative, but I don't think there's a chance in the world that we will get $1 million for the log cabin. Unless it comes to the few grants for historical preservation, which will be up for nothing, or not in that amount whatsoever. So it would have to be a special allocation, such as the one that our representative Daphne Campbell put in, and that will be voted down or vetoed and X'd out by the governor, because it doesn't suit his philosophy on how funding should be, and where he wants to put money that will create jobs. He doesn't want to put money into something such as the restoration of the log cabin. So I think that we would be throwing our lobbyist money away on that issue.
Yeah, but understand that this is an election year. The governor's philosophy, I think, has somewhat changed, and we have made some, in addition to Representative Campbell, we've made significant strides on the Senate side. We met with some very influential senators, and so I'm not, there's no guarantees that we're going to get $1 million. I understand that, but we need to try, and we need to put ourselves in the best position.
It's an election year, and if Governor Scott were just to look at the demographics of Biscayne Park, I just don't see him doing that. I don't think his philosophy has changed. I mean, he will reduce our fees and give back and say he's reducing taxes. I don't think that he's going to give $1 million to Biscayne Park. It just,
okay.
I think it.
All right. Any other comments? So I think the consensus.
No, go ahead, Mayor.
No, Mr.
I just want to walk you through if it's something that you want to do immediately. The best way to do it, as I see it, is under our purchasing. The manager can expend up to $2,500 in goods or services, and to authorize the manager to go ahead. I mean, this is not something you normally would competitively bid. She's obviously going to go out there and interview people and contact people. But if you want to get it working within the next month, you could authorize the manager to go ahead and enter into a contract not to exceed $2,500, and then for the next meeting, if it's more than that, to continue, then we can bring that contract before you. But if you want it to be between now and the next meeting, really the best way, based on our purchasing ordinance for services, is obviously it's not really a competitive bidding issue. It's professional services. You could waive that and authorize her not to exceed the $2,500 under the purchasing until the next meeting, which I don't think will be an issue.
Yeah, I think in light of the timing and the urgency, I definitely would recommend that and support that.
I'd like to go ahead and make that motion.
Okay.
If I may, through the mayor. The motion is to authorize the manager to engage a professional lobbyist, a legislative consultant, to protect our interests or to see after our interests in Tallahassee, in an amount not to exceed $2,500.
And to waive any competitive bidding.
It's a personal service contract.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
isn't it?
Yeah, I just looked at it quickly, so, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just to,
Okay,
We have a motion if you want to at least get a second of that.
yeah, let me, motion by Commissioner Ross, second by Commissioner Jonas. You want to step up to the microphone?
Linda Dillon, 712 115th Street. I just have a question. For as many years as I've lived here, when we had a lobbyist, we had David Caserta. And I just wondered if something had happened with him or whether we were not satisfied with his services or something, because my recollection is that he did help us a number of times. And since he already has knowledge of our community, that maybe we should be considering somebody like him.
Mayor?
Yeah.
I don't think he's being ruled out. All we're doing is asking the manager to go ahead and take a look at, define what the best lobbyist for what we can afford. Right.
Yeah, and actually, Linda, when we went up to Tallahassee, Mr. Caserta was kind enough to join us in some of the meetings, so he facilitated some of that discussion. Commissioner Ross?
That was going to be my response, that I don't think that he is ruled out, and he, even though he may not be on contract with us, he's always extended some support, and
Yes.
I'm sure that he will be considered in the process as well.
And I'm sure the manager will talk to him too.
and I'll just add to that, he gave us probably 5 to 6, 7, 8, almost a full day once we ran into him of free support and escorted us around. So we still have a good relationship with him.
Okay.
Yeah, you do.
Motion by Commissioner Ross, second by Commissioner Jonas. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, was that a, okay. Motion carries 4-1.
And are we tabling the discussion
The
of a county for Rattling?
Yeah, why don't we bring that back to see where we are in the process?
Just to report
Impact?
on what did occur and what the county decided.
Yeah. Okay, why don't we go to Village Manager Report, 14A.
13.
Oh, I'm sorry, request for placement of items on next agenda. Commissioner Ross?
I brought with me a couple of 3 things, some of which administration may already be taken care of. But going back, noticed that it was always in April that we had some kind of resolution in support of a forestry grant. So if we are going to apply for that process, it seems like now is the time to do it. And if we need a resolution from the commission to accomplish that, then next month I'd like to bring that resolution.
We're in the process of looking over the applications.
Okay, anything else?
For discussion next month, I'd like to look into renewing our Let's Move campaign. Michelle Obama's campaign to address obesity and get children in an active mode. We did pass resolutions for it a while back in 2010, and I'm hoping that we could renew that and work that into all of the added programming that we're doing here at the Rec Center. Last.
Okay.
I'd like to talk about doing a trade fair. Starting with our home-based businesses, and not only home-based businesses, but residents who are involved in their own ventures, inviting them to come and showcase their wares at some event here at the Rec Center. And it could be in conjunction with something that's already on our calendar. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Watts, anything? Commissioner Anderson?
Yeah, I'd like to get the consensus of the commission's thoughts on the, do we really need to have the pre-agenda, the draft agenda? Because really there's no backup in that. It gets changed quite a bit. that was something that sort of sprung up about a year ago, and I really don't have any use for it. It doesn't help me for anything, because I talk to the manager, I know what's going to be on the agenda, and instead of having staff spending time to go out and put out a pre-agenda with no backup, I think it's just a waste.
That's for discussion. Next month.
Okay,
Right.
that's fine. Anything else?
Me?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I wonder if we could talk a little bit about the ecology board. Roxy was saying that in the very beginning of it, it was kind of slow to get going, and then they found things to talk about. And if you look at the attendance records over the past year, it looks like they may have run out of steam. And I wonder if it's something that we should try to keep life in.
Good idea, okay. Maybe staff is not ready yet, but at the visioning session, we talked about permitting adjustments, and in particular, I want to talk about the film permits. So if staff is ready for the next meeting, if not, I'd like to at least have a discussion on it.
Our goal is to perhaps, I can't guarantee it, but to come back with a fee resolution relating to some of the things, especially with one of the recreation contracts that was approved tonight. We need to start looking at some fees, so I'm hopeful to be here in April. We have a meeting this week about it, and that would be included. I mean, it would
Okay.
be more than just that.
Commissioner Anderson?
When you were saying about the fees for the contractors, if I remember on Coach Joe, that fee, we didn't say what the fee was. Did you get enough information that, because he's starting that program, that staff can go ahead and set a fee and get started on it, or do you need us to give you consensus on that?
That would be helpful, because really, we cannot be charging fees unless they've been approved by the commission, but if you authorize us to set a fee, and then we'll have it formalized with the resolution next month, that would be helpful to us.
Yeah, I think we need to do that, because Coach Joe's program is starting, and we need to letting staff at least get that started.
You mean
So
our
you need a
20%?
Yeah, our
I'm sorry.
20%. Yes.
Commissioner Russ?
So you need a resolution from us tonight.
Or just I think a motion tonight. I'm sorry? Oh, excuse me, 1 second. Right. So with the contract approved tonight, if you could just authorize the administration to charge a fee, and then we will include it in the fee resolution that we'll bring back. What I'm proposing is $20 for residents and $30 for non-residents.
So moved.
Yeah.
That's
And us-
20%. Typically, it's $100 for residents.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
20%.
Yep.
So moved.
Commissioner Jones?
And I'll second it.
Thank you for catching that, Commissioner
Second
Anderson.
by
I know we had
Commissioner
discussed it.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to 14A, Village Manager Report.
So it looks like I have quite a few items, so if you'll bear with me, I want to point out that you have this month's financial summary being placed in front of you right now. Thank you, Clerk Camara. And I have Director Williams available if you have any questions. In a quick summary, we are 34% through the year. Due to the way we receive ad valorem taxes, we have received 61% of our revenue, but we have only spent 30% of our expenditure budget.
But wasn't the goal to, and I know Erwin is on vacation, but wasn't the goal to get this to us ahead of time?
It's a goal.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, Erwin was on vacation
understand.
until
I
yesterday.
I had to make my wife a promise I wouldn't open my computer for 7 days, so, but next month I'll have it, I'm gonna try to get it to you at least a week before, or at least 4 or 5 days before, so you have time to review it before we have the meeting.
Would it be possible just to have this as far as our agenda?
That's our goal. That's the goal. So it will
Perfect.
be submitted to us about a week before. We will have it in the agenda backup, and that ensures also that it goes on the website for the public.
Perfect. This way
Yeah.
everybody gets to see it.
Yes.
Yep.
But basically, as the manager mentioned, we're at 33.7% through the year. And if you look at the expenditures for what percent of the budget we have used as we go department by department, you notice that some of the departments are over 30%, but I have footnotes. So as an example, you see that Village Commission has note 2, which says the 80th anniversary celebration was $3,100. However, that was offset by grant revenue of $2,100 on the other side. So our really net cost was about $1,000 for the 80th anniversary. If you look down at police, you'll see it's notes 3 and 4. We had vehicle repairs, but we also, if you look at the top under note 4, we had refunds from insurance proceeds from those vehicles that were in accidents, but I'm not allowed to net the expense, net it against the expense. I have to show it as other revenue coming in versus the expenditure going out. But that's the reason that we're over the 33% because of that, and also the fact that we had a vest grant for $11,967. And if you look at the revenues under Note 4, you'll see that it's included in our intergovernmental revenues, where we're showing 36% right now. So obviously, you know, that's inflated by that vest revenue, which is offset on the expenditures on the police line. You'll see also a 35% because it's included on the expenditure side under the expenditure for those vests. But besides that, as the manager said, we're at 30% right now, where we should be at 33.7. So we're not overspending. We're a little bit under at this point, and we're right on target.
Good news. Any comments?
Thank you.
My
Okay.
comments are reflective of what we've already said, is I'd like to see a day when we're going to get there, I know we're going to get there, when we're more current, and that these get posted to the website.
Also, just be aware that we're at the 17th of this month, we're going to be commencing our annual audit with our external auditors. The week of the 17th is when our audit will be beginning.
Thank you, Warren. Manager?
Thank you, Aaron. Moving down my list, I just want to restate about the sanitation workshop that it is an opportunity for the public to come out and speak on all issues related to sanitation, and that no decision has been made yet. And I would not to steal anyone else's phrase, but really call it a listening session for staff. Ultimately, I am responsible for making a recommendation to the commission. I've received the committee's recommendation. I want to hear from the community, and then I will ultimately make a recommendation to the Village Commission at the April 1st meeting. And just very similar language that was used tonight with the utility contract, the village retains the right to accept or reject all bids. So I just want to ensure the public that we're going into this with an open mind, and to just stay with us through the process. And as we get closer to the meeting, more information will become available. We are doing our best due diligence, and I know we're going to make you proud with that. And that's what we're going to be putting out to the public as soon as we're ready. But we want to give them the best available information that's out there.
I have a question. When you say we're going to have the information, we're going to have the information in advance of the workshop so that the public sees the numbers, or?
That is our hope. And if it is not available in advance, it will be widely distributed at the workshop, and then it will be available afterwards. So by the time it is the public hearing in front of the commission, it will have been posted. We are playing with the format of the workshop and what information we're zeroing in on that, trying to be very detailed. Like I said, I hope we'll make it proud and something good for the community.
Okay.
The mayor briefly spoke about our trip to Tallahassee. It was a very interesting and I think very helpful experience. We got amazing exposure both on the House and the Senate side. I believe we met with 11 members of either the House or Senate, either as a group or individually. We were well received. We were able to tell the story of the village of Biscayne Park. One of our key talking points was to distinguish ourselves as a unique place in Miami-Dade County, and that was the message we kept trying to get across. When we talked about the log cabin, we didn't just talk about the restoration of a historic log cabin. We talked about the need for a public safety complex, or a public safety annex, I'm sorry, wrong word, annex, that was safe for both our police officers, our village employees, and the public as well. We talked about ADA accessibility. We talked about the health, the hazards within the log cabin. And also we talked about this building in the sense that it was important to us to return the log cabin to its original function, which was for board and committee and commission meetings and other community functions, so that this can return to its intent, which was to be a recreation center. So I feel confident in how we represented ourselves to both the House, the Senate, Republican, Democrat, everyone that we could meet with, we did. Regarding the water project, we also represented the need for the village, and that also is a public health concern with the standing water, as well as the flooding in the streets and the potential hazards to our homeowners. Since we've returned from the trip, we have submitted the required forms that have now been required by the various committees to both the House and the Senate side. Mr. Sosa Cruz has been in touch with both representatives from the House side, as well as our representative's office, and as well as senators who are interested in representing us on the Senate side. So we've done some follow-up. The mayor has sent out follow-up letters, and we've actually been talking about how we are going to keep our names in the forefront of these members that we met with. Going down my list, I wanted to inform the commission that staff really appreciates the time you spent with us on Saturday in the strategic planning session. We will be having a staff debriefing on Friday morning, where we will be bringing this back to pretty much the entire staff that has responsibilities in the items that we spoke to. We'll be meeting here for a couple hours on Friday morning, assign task out, and really convey the message that we got from the commission so that all staff is on board. And we've been doing that in informal conversations since we returned.
Vice versa. We appreciate you too.
Yes.
Thank you. I want to let the commission know that FP&L is working on a pole hardening project. This is related to their commitment to provide better service to certain public safety communities. In this case, it's the North Miami City Hall and Police Station. Therefore, they are looking at switching out lines along 6th Avenue down to 19th and 19th east to 8th Avenue. It also includes a few poles on Griffin. They will be presenting their project at the Planning and Zoning Board on Monday, March 17th. It is a routine matter that goes in front of the Planning and Zoning Board, but we will be reaching out to the community through our email blast, through our weekly update, and through your communication networks to encourage residents to come out and see the presentation given by FP&L. We're also working with FP&L and reviewing the letter that will go to homeowners. And our plan as of now is that they will go out and stake out each property, and then village staff will then go to each property owner and make contact with the property owner, because as homeowners, I'm sure you all have seen a flag or a stake, and you might have thought something of it but didn't know, and then we want them to point out to them that those stakes that are in their yard in the coming weeks would then be where a pole is going. The nice part about this project, and I'm going to let FP&L really present this, but just to alleviate any fears, is almost all of the new poles are going in next to existing wooden poles. So these are not new poles. These are taking old wood poles out and putting in concrete poles pretty much in the same spot. Commissioner Watts.
Are these poles the same size as the ones that we already have?
They range in size from 14 inches to 16 inches.
Oh my God.
And how do those compare to the existing wood poles? Like, what are the height of those?
And that is the diameter. These range in height from 50 feet to 55 or 60 feet.
And how does that compare to the existing wood poles?
120 feet.
They're definitely higher than the existing poles in their diameter because they're concrete versus wood and are bigger.
Okay, so these are just like about the same size as the ones on 121st Street or 119th Street.
I don't know the size of those. Yes? Yes.
Oh my God. All right. And what is the actual address? 6th Avenue and Griffin? What is it?
6th Avenue from about 121st Street down to 119th, and then 119th down to 8th, where the former, and then it meets up with the former project. And then there's about 4 to 5 poles on Griffin starting at 121st heading south. Commissioner Ross.
What is the date that FPL is going to do their presentation?
March 17th at 6:30. March 17th at the Planning and Zoning Board at 6:30 p.m.
And would this be a good opportunity for residents who would prefer to have a hardening or a harder pole in their line? Would this be a good opportunity for those residents to ask?
The key players from FP&L are going to be there. I don't know what their long-term plans are, but I think it's the best opportunity to have some FaceTime with Ms. Player and other representatives from FP&L.
Because it's been the conversation in my house, and I just wasn't sure how to approach them about it.
Yeah, I think that would be a good time.
So it's ultimately going to come to this, it ultimately comes to the
Right.
commission after P&Z?
There's no reason for it to come to the commission. There's no approval process that would require it to come to the commission. My biggest concern is that the public knows, and to give them a public forum to present. In the interest of timeliness, because they had to go to Planning and Zoning Board, we figured Planning and Zoning Board would be the opportunity for that public meeting. And that's why I'm saying we're going to advertise it through all of our avenues and rely on the community to get the word out and have as many people as possible and everyone who's interested to come to that meeting. Yes, sir.
You know, I appreciate whatever staff could do to pressure Florida Power and Light to fulfill what they promised us over a year ago and get rid of all of these double poles.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like they went up to a point and they sort of forgot about it. And because this is going to end up with some more double poles. And I'd rather see what we can do to encourage them to clean up the mess first before they start a new one.
I completely understand your concern. The issue with double poles, as related to me from FP&L, is not FP&L, but Comcast and other providers. And so Caesar actually calls about weekly to put in request for Comcast to come and move their wires off of the pole. And Caesar, if you want to come to the podium, you're welcome to, or if I misspeak, just jump in. But until those wires move, FP&L
Right.
cannot remove. So the pressure's really not on FP&L for this.
As the manager stated, right now Comcast is the only factor that FPL is waiting on in order to remove those existing poles. A few poles have already started. There was one on 113th and 8th Ave, one by Barbara's house. She had one right there. There was another one also up a couple streets off of 8th Ave. So they are working on it. It's just not as quickly as
And that
FPL
was
would
in
like.
the last few weeks, I believe, correct?
Correct.
Those
Those were
removals,
just
yeah.
in the last few weeks. So they are working on it. It's just not as fast as FPL would like them to be.
Because I see stuff right there, right by near the log cabin.
Correct.
On
Yeah.
114.
Yeah.
What can be done to put a little pressure on Comcast? I mean, is there something that the village can do to put a little pressure on them then?
As the manager stated, every day, every week, that's all I'm doing is just giving them a call, informing them. If there's anything else, I'm open to suggestions.
We're lost on why they don't, if they can come out and do two, why they don't just tackle, like why isn't there a plan? We don't have that answer, but
Right.
we will continue with this pressure. And to some degree, the pressure's working. I don't know if.
I was going to ask you,
John,
our attorney, is there anything that we could be doing?
I mean, they have a right to the right-of-way. I think it's more political. It's more if you can contact certain people at Comcast. I mean, there's no injunction or anything. If you're looking for legal, I wouldn't tell
But
you there's
I
anything
think
realistic.
FP&L should put pressure on Comcast.
Which you have
because-
an
They do.
opportunity on March 17th, yeah.
And according to Ms. Player, they do themselves. So our discussion was kind of that we are tag teaming. But I think, like the attorney said, let's put the pressure on FP&L too.
Okay.
Maybe
Commissioner Ross?
Comcast would like to hear from some of its local customers.
Correct.
Okay, Commissioner Ross?
I was about to suggest that we had some success when we passed a resolution requiring all those vendors, encouraging all those vendors to come together and remove as many poles as possible in a timely fashion. Reaching out to our residents, particularly those that have a Comcast account, and asking them to exert pressure as well, I think that could make it go some way also. But I want to thank our staff for really being on top of this situation, and Caesar for constantly doing the inventory, updating the inventory, and calling them.
Yes.
Because if you look just across 121st Street in North Miami, almost all of their new poles still have those old wooden poles right next to them. And here in the city, in our village, the situation is much reduced. So thank you, Caesar.
You're very
Thank you,
welcome.
staff.
Thank you, Caesar. Yes, Commissioner Watts.
Commissioner Watts?
I'd like to know, does FP&L have a planned date for the initiation of work on this project?
It depends on the issuance of the building permit.
Because also I think that it's just a couple of weeks until March 17th. I don't know that that's enough time really to get everyone on board and have everyone know. And I would like to know too, will FP&L present us with a scenario as to how much it would cost to put the lines underground? How much, because I think that lines, those poles along 6th Avenue and Griffin, I think it's just, it gives one pause. It will change the character of those streets. And I think that it's sort of an infelicitous time to have the sole public meeting on March 17th, which is St. Patrick's Day. A lot of people already have plans for St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, this is sort of a surprise to me. I mean, the first I heard of it, I mean, is there a way to postpone the P&Z meeting for a month? Just to get the word out there to residents?
To postpone the entire meeting, we would put other building permits on hold.
No,
I-
just
yeah.
just with respect to this item, I'm sorry.
They've submitted today. We do have some kind of obligation to timeliness. I can go back and talk to, I just met with Ms. Player this morning, so I can
Okay.
go back and talk to her and see if we can maybe push it to the April 7th meeting to gain some more time.
Okay.
I'll make that request and I'll report back to the commission.
Dan Samaria, 1030 Northeast 121st Street. At this meeting, will we be able to put pressure on FP&L? Because we do have some poles, just as mine as an example. I have an old pole in my backyard, and if a tree falls or a little rain falls, it blows out the, whatever you call it, power thing, and it knocks off about 15 to 20 homes in my area. And I've been complaining to FP&L to get them to fix that pole, and nobody's ever done it. And I think that mines is not the only one. There are probably other residents that have poles that I think are dangerous, and that we need to put pressure on FP&L to fix that.
You'll certainly have an opportunity to speak directly with them at the meeting.
I
Yeah.
spoke directly to somebody that was here at FP&O when they were doing a contract, and that they said they were going to take care, and they never did.
If you want to send me an email with very specifics, I'll be happy to relay it to our contact. We've been dealing with that on another street this week as well.
Okay.
Yes, we have.
Yes, we have.
All right, so next item.
Next item, annexation update. Last Thursday, the County Commission held a special meeting on all items relating to annexation. At that meeting, the County Commission allowed the public to be heard on all concerns related to annexation. Most of those who spoke from the public spoke specifically regarding one application or the other. None spoke regarding our intentions or our application. At the meeting, the commission tabled all items relating to annexation except for two, and that was to request that the county mayor provide an update. We're using the word report, but it's not like a study, it's a report to the county commission on all items related to annexation. And I believe that's more along the general issues of the generic issue of annexation, and they're asking the county mayor to kind of provide a roadmap of how to proceed with the annexations. They also authorize the county staff to implement a web portal related to annexation. Of interest to us was that was resolution 1 and resolution 2. Of interest to us was resolution 3, which they never got to, they tabled. And that was a resolution that was brought forward by Chairwoman Sosa that said that municipalities that are have a majority or are all residential should have priority in the annexation process. And that was very encouraging to see. Unfortunately, it got tabled. I think in talking to the mayor, as well as Commissioner Ross, the way to approach this is perhaps for Biscayne Park to once again take advantage of its unique nature and perhaps to begin to speak, and with the action that you took tonight to allow the mayor to start speaking individually with county commissioners and set us apart from the process and show how we are unique. And many of those issues that they're dealing with don't really pertain to us, and that time is of the essence for us. The mayor did receive a letter today in the mail saying that we are scheduled to be on the March 18th County Commission agenda. That's Tuesday, March 18th. The process as it works is that is just when the county commission is supposed to accept our request, not approve our request, but accept our request. And if I remember the process correctly, we are then forward to the committees, which includes the land use committee, which is made up of members of the county commission, as well as to the planning advisory board. So we are hopeful that between now and then the mayor can encourage the county commission to accept our report, even though they're in that 90-day time frame with the county mayor, and allow our annexation at least to get into the committee process.
Commissioner Ross?
Two things. I am concerned that the conversation at the county sounded like they didn't want additional applications to queue up. So I think it's important to have those conversations and let them realize that we already had submitted our application, but it hadn't made it to their agenda yet. Something else I was thinking about is if it might not be appropriate to start exposing the area that we're looking to annex to village culture, and maybe sharing with them flyers of events here happening at the village, like the Food and Tune Nights and different activities that we have coming up, to show ourselves to that area, and how the commission feels about inviting those residents to partake or just be exposed to what it is to be in the village.
I mean, Food and Tunes, we have a number of people that are outside of Biscayne Park that come to that. Some of those people may be from over there. We don't, I don't know. And I think that's a good first step.
You agree to
Yes.
reach out?
Yes.
I mean, what would you,
I think it's a good way to advertise ourselves. We already have the flyers, but maybe distribute them to the businesses and to the gated communities over there, so that they can come check us out.
We can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, ISA can visit all the businesses, ask them to put it in their windows, try to gain access to the rental communities over there to see if they'll post it on their community boards as well. And just one other point, you might have seen the email this week, the Miami-Dade League of Cities interested in getting involved in the annexation process and conversation as well. And I've submitted our report, our resolution to them, and just offered to be available to them if they had any questions. Moving down my list, there was a request for me to kind of give a 90-day update. I can do that rather quickly if you'd like. I'd first like to thank staff, and I really sincerely mean that. They've put some trust in me, and we've had some good times in the last 90 days getting to know each other and moving their agendas forward. In the last 90 days, I've attended board meetings, I've met with residents, I've also encouraged staff to get involved in the board process, and they seem to like being better connected with the board members as well as knowing what's going on in the village. I've supported staff in implementing their ideas that have been on hold during the transition process. Some of those include the implementation of the website that Maria completed, the implementation of the BSNA for building and code enforcement that's now in use, just supporting them and going forward. As you can imagine, a lot of work fell to a couple people in that transition period, and I think they were happy to get back to their pet projects and the things that they really enjoy. I've begun to network with my professional colleagues. I've worked with the chief to continue his vision of bringing the department to the, quote, his words, next level. This is something we constantly talk about. I've advocated for the village in Tallahassee, as we talked about. I've been working with FDOT and communicating with them on the crosswalks along 6th Avenue. As the attorney updated before, I've met with North Miami on the water issue and just trying to build that relationship with my colleague over there. I've taken steps to modernize the village as far as IT and email, and I thank you for approving that resolution tonight because it's really going to help us continue to do our good work. I've worked with our park director, Issa, to reach as far as he wishes to bring new programs into the village and empowered him to do so. I've worked with the commission to implement many of the processes and procedures that make meetings like this very productive, and I'm proud of that. I have advocated and encouraged professional training for staff in the short time that I've been here. Caesar and Tim have gone to the county for public works training. Candido is going to more code enforcement training. Derek has gotten his fertilizing and pesticide training, and Isa and Candido have attended a wonderful parks training program, and that's why you're seeing so much stuff come out of parks right now is because of that training session they went to. And Erwin and I attended a Florida League of City budget summit, and you're going to see a lot of what we learned there coming to you in the budget season. As we talked about, I feel like I moderated a very successful strategic planning session with the commission. And I've acted in a manner that is fiscally responsible by ensuring that we are on track or under budget at this point in the year. I thank you all for your feedback and your communication over the last 90 days. It has been absolutely wonderful, and I offer myself to sit down with you individually if you have any further feedback.
Thank you, Heidi. I mean, from my perspective, you've been superb and far
Thank you.
exceeded my expectations, and I think the entire team I think is working well together, and there's
Thank you.
many good things to come.
I'm very proud of this
Right.
team.
Just
Any
to
comment?
comment on that is, there is always an adjustment period. We have to get used to you, you get used to us. We had an election, things change, and it's very easy for an organization to unravel in all of that transition. So I'm glad that we are sticking together, and where things need to go, you know, have adjustments like we all do, that we're talking about them and implementing them, and I'm happy to see that happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? All right. Do you still have additional
I
items?
just have those two that were actually on the actual agenda items. I
All right.
feel it's so not like me to talk this much during your meeting, but thank you for that. Issa, it's your turn. Before I want to introduce Issa before he goes up, because he's going to talk to you about the senior programs. But, or I mean, before you speak, you can go up. He's going to talk about the senior programs, but just to kind of give you a heads up, I'm going to list out some of the programs that he currently has in the works, and hopefully all of these will come true, and we'll be able to get them out to the community in the very near future. And that includes an AARP driving course for seniors, which would assist seniors in getting a discount in their insurance. He is in constant talks with AARP, and it's really just finalizing the date. He's been working with a Tai Chi instructor about coming in and doing classes, actually using the outside of the field 2 days outside in the environment 2 days a week, and on rain dates or inclement weather, possibly using the pavilion. So being creative with the use of our space. He's I like this one a lot. If you know me, you know why. He's talking to a teacher about acting classes for children, coming in and doing weekend classes for children for creative play and expression. He's working with the mobile DMV to come in and do the driver's license renewal that has been very successful here in the past. And also talking to a bridge club about possibly using our facility during the day. They meet in Miami Shores, but they're interested in coming over this way. In the last week, he's gone door to door in the community with Officer Harrison and met with our seniors and personally extended himself to the seniors to encourage them to come into our senior programming. And I think they have another round planned in the near future, as well as going out with Brittany. And also very exciting, they are restarting the arts and crafts program on Fridays for ages 5 through 12. That will take place here at the rec center. So there's a lot of things happening, and we're pretty excited. But most important, I think something we're very proud of is the senior programming. Take it away, Bud.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, residents, guests. Yeah, so we have a lot of new, exciting programming for all ages. This is kind of just the first wave with the senior programming. And just because it comes up constantly, we aren't excluding anyone from any of these programmings based on age. So if light exercise is something that someone is looking for, you know, due to maybe a disability or anything like that, age isn't excluding them from participating in, say, the exercise class, which you all stamped that contract this evening with Leslie Riley. She'll also be doing a women's class on Thursdays. The senior day trips is something we did many years ago that was very successful. It kind of fell to the wayside when we had some transitioning here with the department. Bringing that back, our first trip is actually next Monday to Nosberry Farm. So again, these aren't excluded by age. We're not checking IDs or anything like that. So please, people, feel free. The newsletter went out last week, so we've already received a number of calls of people very excited about these classes. We actually initiated the programming last week with our first health and wellness event sponsored by North Shore Hospital. The actual guest speaker couldn't come, so luckily Chester Doc Morris filled in for him. And we have another health and wellness coming up Friday the 14th here. The health and wellness events is something that the North Miami Foundation already had established. We brought them in and explained to them we were trying to revamp our senior programming. So we kind of came to an agreement that 1 month there, 1 month here. So they already have a following of about 15 to 20 seniors who attend their event. Some of them are actually residents of ours already, so it plays in perfectly. They're actually gonna, when we meet here, bus their group here. And then as you see, the following month is at the North Miami Library. If we can assist anyone with getting transportation there, we definitely will if they need help getting there. So want to be brief and definitely, but invite everyone to come participate in these events. The first actual exercise class will be tomorrow morning. We already have a couple of people who told me they're going to arrive, but getting the word out with the newsletter was crucial for us. We missed the deadline kind of with that first health and wellness event, but we still had a good turnout with that. So we definitely want to get the ball rolling, but we have all these new and exciting other programs coming for all ages. So the arts and craft classes is something we used to do. It's going to be a free class on Fridays for children ages 5 through 12, a take-home project every class, and we just ask for donations to help us compensate with the materials. I want to thank Officer Harrison again for helping me go door to door to visit some residents we haven't finished yet, so don't be mad at us yet. We might be knocking at your door soon. I saw some faces over there. So we knocked out a good list, and we wanted just to reach out to the community definitely and put those pamphlets in directly in their hand. So please, if you have any questions, I'm definitely always available. If you have any ideas of other programming that you might want to see, we are definitely open ears to that. Really tying in the availability of the building. This is our one-stop shop for everything as the manager, and that's one of the reasons why we're looking to revamp Village Hall. I know with that state money, so trying to find ways to tie in programming and utilize the time that we have here with everything that goes on already, after school program, the summer camp, when summer camp comes, all of our board meetings, our commission meetings. We just freed up Thursday nights for the women class by asking the rec board to move their meeting, so that freed up a Thursday night, so we know we won't have to cancel that class anytime in the month. So we're really just trying to maximize the time that we do have and bring new and exciting programs to the community. So.
Issa, thank you. Excellent job.
No problem.
Thank you.
Issa's also attending the Rec Advisory Board every month, so he's able to communicate any needs or programming issues directly with the board, so he can have their support behind him.
Okay, good. Thank you, Issa.
Sort of on a related note, we've talked often about having a community calendar. Do we have something like that operating or coming up?
You mean like through the website?
Yeah, I've asked Issa to provide that, and we're going to be updating the website and the recreation page.
So it'll all be on that one calendar.
Right.
Great.
And then the Facebook page is also, so if you haven't liked the Facebook page, that's another wonderful tool to find out what we have coming up. And also, we do a lot of events that the county sponsors, we add to that page as well. So things that aren't just happening in our village, but outside to visit other parks. So.
Very good.
Can we stay for the next?
You can stay close by. Stay close by.
Oh, okay.
The last item is I wanted to bring to the Commission's attention that we sold a surplus vehicle, which was our second recreation van on govdeals.com. We made, after we paid our commission to GovDeals, $6,976. When surveying the staff, looking around recreation, and let me preface this as a former department director, I have strong feelings about this. If I make the money, I want the money to stay in my department. So if this is a resource that came out of the recreation department, I support that funding staying in the recreation department. So when we surveyed around the recreation department, there's two little rooms that probably are visited more than any other place in the entire village, and that's the restrooms in this building. Issa tells me that they have not been updated since he's been here, and that's 13, 16 years? Yeah. Pressure cleaning's been done in past years, and it just doesn't seem to be making a difference. We were proactive, and we went out and got 3 bids for what it would take to work. We have a bid that's, we asked for the bids to be only for labor, and with the thought process being that we would get better pricing with our tax status. We wouldn't have to pay taxes if we went and bought the materials ourselves, as opposed to through a contractor. So we have our lowest bid is under the amount that we received, but it's probably a little higher, and we'd like to negotiate it down a little bit. But with the Commission's blessing, we'd like to proceed with this project, come back with a contract approval with the Commission so that we can update the bathrooms as far as the tiling and the walls go. And I think when you think about everything Issa's presented to you, we're trying to market this place, not just as a facility rental for birthday parties and showers and other things, but as a place, as the community center. We're trying to bring in programming and instructors, and I think it's important that we sparkle in the best way possible, and that's why we're advocating for the restoration or rehabilitation of our bathroom tiles.
Is there do you have a list of items that pet projects for this building or for Parks and Rec? I mean, that's one of them, but do you have others that we can consider?
We have another one that comes from our staff, specifically our police department, is the upgrading of the camera system around the recreation center. We have heard from the community about upgrading the lighting, And then the other project is outdoor exercise equipment. Pretty costly there. I don't even think this 6,900 could provide a match for a grant for that right now. But when we look in terms of what's most pressing, the bathrooms kind of need some attention.
Okay. Commissioner Anderson?
Yep. What do you need from us right now to go ahead and at least proceed with the bathrooms?
Just some consensus. I didn't want to engage further into this process, bring forward a contract for a contractor to do the work,
Right.
and then you all say, but Heidi, we want new pool tables. You
Bathrooms.
know? So I'd like your feedback.
See, I've been here long enough. I remember when they were refurbished a long time ago.
And
It's due.
Isa was talking to me today about it and was saying that even when the building was hardened, you know, nothing happened with the bathrooms. Yeah.
This goes back before all of that.
Yeah.
Commissioner Watts?
I'm curious, would you just envision new tiles or like new sinks and blow dryers?
Based on our budget right now, it would mostly be the removal of the tile and new tile 3/4 of the way up. We're hoping that we can salvage the partitions as well as the sinks, probably upgrade like the soap dispenser, small items like that, but do a lot of the cleaning and the buffing of those type of items with our in-house crews. But it's pretty expensive, the labor to remove the tile. Basically, when you do flooring type work, if you've ever done it in your house, as I have, you pay as much square footage per square foot to remove that you do to lay down, and so there's definitely a cost involved with
So it would
this.
just be the walls, not the floors?
Walls and floors.
Walls and floors.
Walls and floors, we're looking at doing a bigger tile so it's easier to clean 3/4 of the way up the wall. So if we do have to hose down it because of a hazmat issue, we can, but not to do it all the way to the top. Make it look a little modern.
Commissioner Ross?
I'll tell you, 5 years ago, when I was on the rec advisory board and we were weighing in on the hardening project that took place here, one of our priorities was to revamp the restrooms, and it was badly in need of it back then. It's really been unfair for us to expect you to maintain the facilities when we don't put the money that it needs back into it. So I'm fully supportive of it. I'm wondering if perhaps funds that have been raised by the Rec Advisory Board or by the foundation cannot complement some of the things that are going to be needed to be replaced, because those fixtures are dated and they need to come out. And, you know, the sinks and the countertops, the dividers, those Formica dividers, I hate to see the job half done. I think even if we have to do a little fundraiser at our food and tune night, I think people would be willing to dig into their pockets and help get it done.
We can look at a comprehensive budget to do from ceiling to floor.
Okay. Really brief?
I would have to bring it in front of the board, but we do have some money, and we were asking Isa what project we wanted to start right away. So this is something that we can bring up. I think we have, I'm trying to remember how much money we got with the foundation. I forgot that much. But I think it's about over $800, $900. I think a little bit more than that combined with the money that the city's holding for us. So I think that that can be something that we can do as our first project. But I have to bring it up.
We really
at the next,
appreciate that.
I have to bring it up at the next meeting with the new board.
And Isa will work towards having a more comprehensive budget by then.
Thank you, Jim. Okay.
Thank you. I think we have agreement from the commission.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Village Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. Briefly, Heidi and I met on Friday with the Public Works negotiators. We'll be continuing to negotiate. I think we will be able to come back to you in a few months and finalize that. I don't think we're far apart at all, so just letting you know that, and can discuss it individually as it's a collective bargaining agreement. But that's just generally where we're at. We're in a good place, I tell you.
Okay.
And then secondly, Heidi put on here, and I know it's come up a little bit, about potential for a public art assessment. Kind of ties into the previous discussion on Commissioner Ross's item about special assessments. The public art assessment, if you could have one, would have to be through the special assessment process. And Chapter 170 of the Florida statutes is what really addresses special assessments generally. And as I stated before, your typical special assessments are for infrastructure improvements, whether it's roadways, water and sewer projects, or construction or reconstruction of parks and recreation areas. In connection with roadways in particular, though, it does talk about, and this is something that's related to another issue that came up here, that you can use special assessment funding for your medians, including landscaping, lighting, and furniture. I would tell you that there's really nothing that would support a pure public art assessment, and I don't think it realistically could occur. However, if you worked with your medians and your lighting and your city furniture, and there was perhaps a minor component to it, whether it's the furniture itself or the lighting itself, or the hardware for the lighting, you might be able to do that. But the way it's written in the statute talks about anything connected with roadway improvements, but there has been a case, it was in Winter Springs, where they did an assessment purely for medians, purely for landscaping, lighting, and furniture. So as that has come up, just today actually, if you looked, if you wanted to do something in a special assessment, we would need to go much more detailed than as late as it is tonight, but you can start thinking about things such as medians. In order to do it, remember, the analysis is there a special benefit to the property? And if you're doing medians, public medians throughout your community, the courts have ruled that that is a benefit to each and every property. And you can generally apportion that in a very equal manner. And if we get to that point where you want to do that, you would actually hire usually an outside entity. GSG does a ton of these things, but League of Cities has some ways to do it, where you would need to go ahead. It's a legislative finding, so it's as simply as fairly debatable issue. If you found it was in the benefits of your citizens and it was fairly apportioned, you would have the ability to do it. But to answer the narrow issue here, a public art assessment, there doesn't seem to be support for something purely at that level. So we can discuss this later on. I know it's getting late, but I just wanted to give you that to think about.
Okay, thank you. Any comments on that item?
We could discuss it further. I kind of think that there are other, if we're going to do an assessment, there are other priorities that our taxpayers would like to see addressed rather than our.
I agree. All right, I don't think we have any board or committee reports, so we'll just go through any comments, remaining comments from the commission? No? Okay, let's go to announcements and finish up.
Thank you, Mayor. On Wednesday, March 5th, there's a code compliance special meeting at 6:30 p.m. Wednesday, March 5th, a code review board meeting at 7 p.m. Thursday, March 6th, the code compliance board will have another special meeting at 7 p.m. On Tuesday, March 11th, the code compliance board will have their regular meeting at 7 p.m. On Friday, March 14th, is Food and Tunes starting at 6:30 p.m. On Monday, March 17th, we have the Planning and Zoning Board at 6:30 p.m. Also on Monday, March 17th, is the Ecology Board at 6:30 p.m. On Wednesday, March 19th, we have Code Review Board at 7 p.m. On Saturday, March 22nd, we'll have our first workshop on solid waste collection services at 10 a.m. On Monday, March 24th, we'll have our second workshop on solid waste collection services at 6:30 p.m. On Tuesday, March 25th, Recreation Advisory Board at 7 p.m. On Wednesday, March 26th, is the Parks and Parkway Advisory Board at 6 p.m. And on Saturday, March 29th, we will celebrate Earth Hour from 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. More details to come. And our next regular commission meeting is Tuesday, no fooling, April 1st, 2014 at 7 p.m.
All right.
I make a motion for adjourn.